Are live on According to Hip Hop on the Friday, man. How you doing, Coop? That's what's
Yeah.
up. That's what's up. We got some. We got some new music today or this week, rather. Roddy Ricch dropped today.
Mhm.
Um, Bobby Shmurda finally dropped that record with Quavo and Roddy Rebel that people been hearing for a minute. I think it's called Shmoney. I think
Do you
this
like it?
week I like that song actually. I
I
liked
thought
it.
it was a good
I
song.
like the Jim Jones Amigos song too.
I like that more.
I like that more too. But anytime those three guys are together, Takeoff, Quavo, and Offset, I'm with it. And that's why I want to retract my statement from last episode. Culture 3 is definitely the most disappointing album for me in 2021. And I say that respectfully because I know those guys could do better, and this Jim Jones song is proving it. Everybody in the room is coming in and saying, "What's up?" TJ said, "Happy Friday, fellas." Michael Williams said, "What's up, guys, on a Friday?" P. White says, "Salute, gentlemen." Yes. What we're going to do today, man, we're going to get into some of those new songs that Dr. Dre released. Did y'all hear those? Dr. Dre has released 6 songs. I think it's going to be on Grand Theft Auto.
Mhm.
And, hey, we went through the songs,
Yeah.
and we want to give our opinions on them, man. Like, off top, after I sent you the link and you checked out the songs, Coop, what were some of your thoughts?
I thought 5 of the 6 songs were really dope.
5 of the 6 songs?
Mhm. Oh,
Which one did you think wasn't that dope?
I didn't think Falling Up was up to standard with the previous
Okay,
records.
okay.
I did. Yeah.
Gospel with Eminem, and maybe I'll wait till more people get in the room because I think Eminem's verse is actually pretty good on here. I
It
think
is. You
Eminem
want
did
to
a
talk
good.
about that now or you want to wait?
We can wait. We can wait on the people, and we got a few people in the room right now. But yeah, Eminem actually did pretty good on Falling Up. I think it's really interesting. Obviously, Dr. Dre is going to be doing the Super Bowl halftime show, which is damn what? That's like nearly a month and a half away from us.
More or less.
Yeah, more or less, probably the first part of February. Well,
Yeah,
the
6 to 8 weeks.
speculation is that Kendrick Lamar, since he's on the bill, he's going to drop an album. Mary J. Blige has already been confirmed of dropping an album. Snoop dropped like 3 songs today, I think. And Snoop dropped an album a couple of weeks ago. Um, Eminem probably not gonna get an album from him, right? But the fact that we're getting new Dr. Dre songs, the biggest speculation on this bill is that Kendrick Lamar is gonna drop new music. And I gotta be honest with you, Coop. I don't see Kendrick dropping in the next month and a half. Do you?
So a couple things. Don't you think this would have been an opportunity to get some warm up right here with some of
I
these
think
records?
so.
Because I
You got
mean,
big dogs on here. Snoop's on here.
yeah,
Eminem's on here. Busta
DLC,
Rhymes is on here. DLC's on here.
yeah,
Nipsey's on here. Ty
yeah.
Dolla Sign's on here. So it's
Ross,
like, yeah, that was the biggest omission for me too, is the fact that Kendrick's not even on these 6 released Dr. Dre records. And he's on the Super Bowl halftime bill. I don't know if we're getting new Kendrick music. I don't know, man.
it's definitely okay. So one of the beautiful things, and I know this isn't a project, but one of the beautiful
Mm-hmm.
things about Dr. Dre projects is that they have a way of like feeling like he seizes the right opportunities at the right moments as a producer and an artist. Doesn't it feel that way?
He
Like
does.
there's something about when he pulls things together.
It's a moment.
It's a moment and things come together, and
Mm-hmm.
so you kind of like when you're looking at the Super Bowl bill, and we're seeing Kendrick pop back up, and we know who we signed to, and we know where he's from, and you look at all the other people that are apparently are in tow, and I mean, and essentially, Mike, and we're going to talk about the game for a minute too, because it's apparent to us that the game is in tow in this too.
Right.
Like, well, if you actually look at Dr. Dre's like tree of artists that he's worked with, exclusively, like the only person kind of missing is kind of Kendrick, because it's like you said, Mike, him and Ice Cube is like kind of a whole nother thing from a whole nother lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
His thing with Nas was brief and transitional. These are all the other guys that he's really been rocking with: the DOC, Busta Rhymes, Game. Eminem.
Yeah.
Something I'm
Even
missing.
Rick Ross, you know what I'm saying? Like Dr. Dre has had Rick Ross in pocket, and I actually enjoyed the Rick Ross song the most, and not to mention Anderson .Paak. And Anderson .Paak's another one that I feel like him and Dr. Dre work really well together. Anderson .Paak actually works really well with a lot of people. He works
Mike,
really well with Bruno Mars. Him and Bruno Mars just dropped a dope album together. I know how you feel about Bruno Mars, but I mean, they just dropped a dope project together, and we've seen what Anderson .Paak's been able to add to other people's effort, i.e., King's Disease.
yeah. The Anderson Bruno project is dope, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm still going to base it on the music. I still said what I said about Bruno, not changing that because it's true.
Bruno's talented, man, but on Bruno, real quick, just so people don't get it confused.
I never said he wasn't talented. Just put on Versace shirts and jumped in a Cadillac, and we usually call that cultural appropriation. And somehow he just seemed to have gotten a hall pass for doing it.
Well, the thing about Bruno,
project, he's on a bar stool in black and white playing a fake guitar.
Well, the thing about Bruno is
you got to have the gold chain when you appropriate us, Mike.
No, I feel you. I feel everything you said, and I agree with it, and it's all accurate. But this is somebody who grew up and was raised as a Elvis impersonator. I think that a lot of the things with Bruno and how he discovered music and how he's put out music is kind of a sense of imitation. And it's like, I don't think that we've seen somebody so talented who basically kind of made a career off of imitation in a sense. Even when he does his throwback stuff. Listen, when I first heard Uptown Funk, I'm like, this ain't Holly Rock? You know what I'm saying? And I'm just being real. Like, a lot of people don't know Holly Rock like that. But when I'm hearing Uptown Funk You Up, I'm thinking rock, Holly Rock from Crush Groove. But see, that's what he's made a career off of. And if I have any reservations with Bruno, it would be that. He has the talent to do it. He's a very talented imitator in a sense. And I think everything that you feel like about him kind of goes in sync with that too. You know what I mean? But again, when you see those old clips of him like 3 or 4 years old impersonating Elvis, you see like this is his whole journey through music anyway.
Well, Mike, that's the thing about it. You kind of point to the reason why it really shouldn't be happening. He's actually talented. He don't have to do that.
Well, I guess when you don't have an identity musically, you do. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's one of the things too, like when we compare people to Michael Jackson and stuff like that. It's like, well, Michael Jackson created his own. Well, no, I'm just saying in general. I think one of the things that sets Michael Jackson apart from a lot of people that came after him is the fact that he had his own identity and created those own identities where it wasn't like, oh, okay, you're doing the Fred Astaire. Like, no, this is some new shit.
It's the Michael Jackson.
And a lot of people, who came after him, from Usher to Chris and all of them, they don't have like their own signature stuff. We don't really have a lot of people in this era of stars that have their own signature thing. And so I think that's why Bruno's been able to exist in this ecosystem, if that makes any sense.
No. So, and we're going to get back on subject in a minute, but Mike, what the truly greats and what the legends do is they took who came before them and they really freak it properly and make it their own. When you go, we've spoke about this. It's like, well, Mike, when we saw Prince and Michael Jackson respectively when we were kids, and now that we're older, we can see the James Brown influence on both sides played out in different ways because both of those guys took their interpretations of it and made it into their own.
Well, how do you feel about Kobe? And rest in peace to Kobe, but we could sit there and look at Kobe's movements and a lot of the things he did on the court, which take immense skill. But they were carbon copies of Michael Jordan, in a sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But also, but that's what I'm saying too. But Kobe made some things his own. Like, here's the thing: Kobe's a better shooter than Mike.
Definitely. And I think that, and again, not to get too far off subject, I think that, the 3-point shot became a little bit more important in that era than it was in Jordan's era. And we've seen that shot continuously be improved upon as generations go on, i.e., Steph Curry basically breaking the 3-point record in like 700 games less than it took Ray Allen to do. Was it 5?
I think it's 5.
Was it?
500 games less. Something like that.
That's still crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like that's like what? I know my math is not the best right now. What, 6 seasons or so?
more or less.
Something like that. But yeah, I mean, but saying all that to say, I think that making your own as time has moved forward, I guess it's been either harder or we don't have a lot of originals anymore. And I hate to sound like the old dude in the room, but and that's why I really love, and people can say whatever they want about people like Future and Young Thug. I do respect their ability to be their own thing. You know what I'm saying?
What Future say? I took and freaked it.
I love that. And again, the same reasons why we loved Old Dirty. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no one's sitting here saying Old Dirty is Big Daddy Kane on the mic, but what he was able to do.
Mike, I mean, but here's what I'm saying. He showed Big Daddy Kane up live one time. Old Dirty did.
Well,
they were on the same stage live one time. Yeah, he's a showstopper like that. So he can take it from even somebody like the caliber of Kane. And think about who we're talking about. Mike Kane is, up there as the greatest hip hop performer ever. And we just saw him live this year. Yeah. Like, Old Dirty could take it from somebody like that. So style matters.
It does. And I guess we got on this talking about Anderson .Paak, right? I think
I want to circle back around to Anderson .Paak because I had a couple thoughts. You want to know who he is to me?
Who's that?
It's Nate Dogg 2.0. And this is what I mean about taking something and making your own. He's doing the same thing Nate Dogg is doing. He's just doing it in today's times, and he's just doing it on his level. It's not that West Coast necessarily G-Funk. It's just kind of like modernized. He's obviously a drummer, so it's real like drum inspired when he's coming in. That fits right into like melodies and the kits of hip hop because guess what it started off of? It started off loops and kicks and samples from the drummers that James Brown had in his band. So I
kind of felt like that on ETA, right? Was that the song that Anderson's on that you're talking about? It's funny you say that because one of these songs, I think it's ETA. I felt Nate Doggish stuff going on.
Isn't he on like the Scenic Group?
He's on the Scenic Group as well.
But isn't he on the one before? Isn't he on ETA too?
That's what I was saying. He's on ETA, I believe, too.
Yeah. But Mike, so how about this? Like, I'm with you. The Scenic Group might be the best track, but ETA is the one that most feels like a Dr. Dre Chronic or Chronic 2001 record.
I want to talk to you about that because that's what I got from these records. And for the people who are just coming in the room, we're talking about the 6 new Dr. Dre songs that were released. We had Gospel, ETA, the Scenic Group featuring Rick Ross. ETA was featuring Snoop, Busta Rhymes. That was Anderson .Paak as well. Gospel was featuring Eminem. And he also had Diamond Mine featuring Nipsey Hussle and Ty Dolla $ign, a song called Black Privilege, and another song called Falling Up. Those are the songs we're talking about right now. And what I wanted to ask you is the fact that does it feel like Dr. Dre has his own sound with any of these, or is it scattered?
Okay, a little scattered, but not in a bad way all the way because this isn't an album, so we can't look at these songs like they were put together in total album mode. Because here's the problem anytime Dr. Dre drops something, like it doesn't matter what it is and in what format, we think about the Chronic, we think about the Chronic 2001, and so the expectation is that the album's going to be pretty much flawless.
Well, see, that happens, though, because we don't have a lot to pull from. We don't have too much to really compare it to.
Yeah, Mike, what we have to pull from as a whole from the guy is pretty epic. And so those are what I like to call nice little bookend pieces for everything else that he's done. And so it carries heavy, heavy weight, but it also carries heavy, heavy burden. And so the burden of that is that the expectation, Mike, on a scale of 5, every time he drops something is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. You know what I'm saying?
How'd you like the Gospel featuring Eminem and DLC?
I'm about to say, do you want to run these tracks in order or you want to hop around?
Let's run them in order.
So, Mike, with Gospel with Eminem, this is one of those reasons where I'm like, no, he can spit. Mm-hmm. There you go. That's why I'm like, it's like, no, he's not like in the greatest MC of all time conversation for me. But when I be saying like, you can't hear that dude can rhyme his ass off, this is what I'm talking about, Mike. Like, just this.
I don't want to be a Skip Bayless, because I think the verse is good. I think that, his...
Good, Mike. I mean, when you're saying good, are you saying above average? Because the verse is above average.
It's one of the better verses that he spit in a minute. But see, the thing is, it's
Kind of like
like,
Skip Bayless.
and you, the thing is, you and I were talking about this, right? And we were talking about this when we were talking about cannabis, and we were talking about cannabis in his prime. And you were talking about you used Nas's verbal intercourse verse, for example. It's like when you're dope on the mic, you don't have to do the 32 bar verses, man. You don't, you know what I'm saying? And even Eminem in his prime, he didn't used to have to do that. He
Yeah,
didn't
60.
go on Forgot About Dre just, going like 32 bars. Like when you're dope, it feels like Eminem feels like he has something to prove at this point. And honestly, at this point in his career, you don't. Like you don't have anything to prove to that degree. Do you feel like he's kind of switched his whole MO as an MC? He's more of like a Tech Nine-ish type of, approach to music now. Where it's like, okay, I'm gonna fast flow you out. I'm gonna bar you out with like, 32 something. He didn't used to do that. And not saying that people can't change, but I feel like some unnecessary bars here. And again, I'm not trying to be super critical. I think it's a decent verse. But there were some questionable bars in there.
I mean, because of sometimes just his chosen rhetoric and how he likes to spin off on stuff and where he likes to go. I get what you're saying with what could be coined as questionable bars. I don't think those bars are as questionable as you say in particular.
What about, do you like the bar, what he said? Overhead, like a quarterback overthrowing a receiver, something like that. You know what I'm talking about?
Okay.
Stuff like
Mike,
that. It's like,
so I didn't love the bar, but what I loved was the composition of the flow because he did actually. You want to know what, Mike? You know what he did with that type of delivery? He did some of what Jay did on Renegade, which is like that double entendre flow, which is where you're catching two bars in between, but those bars that lie on the outside on the first and fourth bar are catching each other too. That's the double entendre bar scheme. Not every MC can pull that off.
that
That's what I'm
is
saying.
super technical, Coop. And we only get this technical when this guy's in concern. I think it's a decent verse. I'm trying to pull up some of the lyrics real quick. I mean, it was, here we go. I knew they would have it up. Good old Rap Genius. Okay, so let's see. Some of the people in the comments are saying that, it's just overkill at this point. Oh, DeCarlo's an Eminem fan. He's in the room. I want to hear what he has to say. He said, I just want M to take his time like he used to. The songs are just bars and fast rapping these days. See, he's an Eminem fan and agrees with that. I agree with that. I think that if he can, like you said,
not even rapping that fast on this one, though.
He's not. It's just so many bars, man. And it's like, give
bars.
us a dope 16. It's fine, man. Oh, here it is. Nate Diaz.
Hold on. In fairness to him, if I'm not mistaken, the way the format is set up on the track for gospel, though, it's 224s. I mean, I've only heard the record like a time and a half, so I can't,
right.
you know.
Well, here's some of the bars here, right? Like clothes in between the two rollers. And wait, hold on. Oh, here it is. But I ain't finished putting these hoes through the ringer. Like clothes in between two rollers. And wait, no, what I mean is the flows inwoven. And I treat them like thread. Why? That's how I wound up sewing machine up. No, I don't know, man. It's a lot of. I could spot you like you about to wait.
Next song, Mike.
I could spot you like you about to wait lift. Bitch, I'm better than cake mix. Can't be whipping the egg beaters. I don't know. It's kind of like who this reminds me of, and this is interesting. It feels like Eminem has been inspired by Lil Wayne to a degree. These type of reaches sometimes kind of remind me of like when Lil Wayne does the whole, G's moving silence like lasagna type of stuff, and it's like, I get it, but Eh,
I kind of happen to like that, Mike. Real cheese sounds like lasagna. I like that bar.
I don't love the bar because man, lasagna doesn't move. I know it sounds crazy, but it's like when Jay did that whole um like a
Mike,
running
it's
back. No, he's like a running back. I'm straight with the rock. I can run it back, nigga, because I'm straight with the rock. That works all around. You know what I'm saying? That works from the running back getting the rock, the ball, to him getting Rockefeller, running it back, the running back, he's running it back again with Rockefeller. Those work. I feel like the lasagna thing is a broken bar because lasagna doesn't move. I'm sorry. I get what he's saying, obviously, but when you say move, then the lasagna has to be a part of that. It can't just be the G part and the silence in it. You know what I mean? Oh.
who's being technical now?
It's like when he did like I Brooklyn Dodger them. I Jack, I Rob, I Sin. Yeah, man, I'm Jackie Robinson. Except when I move bass, I'm dodging the pin. Like that works all around. All around.
Who are you
I
comparing him to?
Jack, I Rob, I Sin. We talking goat talk.
So that's what I said, Mike. I started this off by saying I don't think he deserves to be in the GOAT talk, but I think he can rhyme his ass off. So when you're bringing up GOATs and comparing them to him, well, it's like, well, that's what I was saying. It's like, well, I don't think he's in that talk.
I like the song. Saying all that to say, I think that was a decent verse from
Who
Eminem.
you?
I think Eminem did a good job. I mean, we just have to face the fact that Eminem's not, the Eminem of 2002.
I mean, I accepted that a while ago. I mean,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that he can't have like, above average mic performances like the one we just witnessed.
But
In my
out of the 6 songs, I think this might be my second least favorite.
second, yeah, probably, yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
liked
probably.
ETA. I liked ETA, like you said. I think that sounds the most like a Dr. Dre esque track. I think
Yeah.
when Dre and Snoop get together, obviously there's some chemistry there. I think, in my personal opinion, they're the best rapper producer combo ever.
So, Mike, I mean, get out of my head because I'm kind of saying the same thing with my notes. Because I wrote, who sounds best on Dr. Dre's beats ever? Snoop, Doggy Dog, Mike. That's what ETA is more proof of it.
Yeah.
It's like if Dr. Dre is the greatest hip hop producer ever, well, who sounds best on a Dr. Dre track? Well, that's Snoop, Mike. What does that say about who Snoop is? Once again,
Yeah. He's one of the greats.
it's more,
I was
proof.
reading
So
some of the
ETA is a proof
comments.
of that. But
Huh?
also, too, you know what I mean? And this is what I mean about the camps in tow. The way Busta is weaving in, you can tell Busta's been around with this camp for a while now.
Speaking of being around, and I know we're going to cover this, it feels like the game probably wrote all of these songs.
Mike, when I hear most of the deliveries and flow patterns, most of it either belongs to Busta or Game, in my opinion. Do you not agree?
Yeah. Obviously the song with Rick
Like
Ross. I,
some of the New York talk sounds like Buster to me. A little bit of it because there are a couple of spots where it's kind of like Buster's old choppy flow. Remember Buster's old choppy flow a little bit?
mhm.
I can hear some of that, and because Dre's not like an MC like MC's MC, I can hear him delivering that more old school Buster style when Buster's giving it out to him. Because I hear a little bit of that. But like you, Mike, I hear mostly the game. Listen to these bars, Mike. Hard pill to swallow, Juice World, Ice Cube sitting by the dock, O'Shea.
Ho, ho, ho,
That's
ho.
game.
It's funny you pulled out that Juice World line because when I heard it, I was like,
Juice World,
that's
game.
hella insensitive. But that's game.
That's
That's
game. That's how you
game.
know it's game, Mike. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
so ruthless and insensitive.
Yeah.
Dr. Dre wouldn't say that. I'm thinking to myself, Dre wouldn't say that. Snoop wouldn't say that.
Exactly.
You know who would say that, Mike. We know. Who
Yeah.
would say that.
And the name dropping in the insensitivity, that's definitely game.
Like Ice Cube sitting by the dock, O'Shea. That's classic game.
Yeah, that's game.
Game.
You
That's
know,
game.
we got to give Game his flowers, man. I don't know what it is with the industry not really giving Game all the props that he deserves. He's such an odd enigma in the hip hop sphere, period, right? He he was popping at his highest when, he would kind of seem to be alone on the West Coast on the mainstream level. Um, he's always had so much collaborative help all around, but he's constantly gotten like better and better and better, and it seems like he doesn't get the recognition for it. And then, fast forward, Kendrick comes through, and obviously Kendrick's a beast, and comes through with some quality albums, and he gets ranking, and no one ever talks about where Game falls in this whole hip hop thing. Ever. And we don't even know what type of ghostwriting stuff that he's done for other people. Not to mention he's worked with Nas so much too. Like, it's crazy. Like, people act like Game's career is not what it is.
I mean, Mike, we're both Game fans, and we both feel like he doesn't get the credit or the recognition that he deserves. But here's what I will tell you to kind of speak with all that, Mike. Part of the reason why Game had so many collaborations, especially early on, is because he was the guy that was bringing the West back, and everybody rallied around him about that.
It's interesting you say that because I feel like as I've gotten more into like journalism and hip hop over the years and just digging deep and just kind of, not to pat myself on the back, becoming a hip hop historian, you see there were a lot of cases like that. And Outkast is one of them. I think that we talked about this in a previous show. People see that there's a person that's on and it's all hands on deck. And, same thing with the All Eyes on Me with Tupac. It was all hands on deck. And I think that, like you said, Game at the time was a recipient of that. And it wasn't anything like super new. It was just his time.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong when Corrupt.
That's how you get a quality project.
There's nothing wrong with Corrupt getting on a record, Exhibit getting on a record, Snoop getting on a record.
Illmatic was like that too. It was all hands on deck. They saw this special talent. And it's like, look, on a production end, it was Large Professor's like, look, we got to come together to make this classic album for this gifted young man.
Yeah, all the other gifted producers he was around, he's like, man, listen to this gifted MC. They're like, no, we hear it. What's up? Where we going?
Yeah, exactly. It's all, and that's how you make a classic in hip hop, a movement.
No, most classics, Mike, most of our classics are made that way, like with the whole team, whatever the team is. Mike, it goes right back to our sports analogies. Most teams that win the championships are the teams that are teams with a common goal and a common thread and a common denominator and common objective in mind.
I was talking about this the other day, man. I mean, obviously, Michael Jordan was an incredible talent, 6 for 6 in the finals. But Jerry Krause doesn't get the attention. I mean, not the attention, the recognition that he should get as an incredible GM, and the fact that he went out there, he drafted Scottie Pippen from a small school. He drafted Charles Oakley from an HBCU. He went out there and got Tony Kukoc when people weren't getting foreign players. He was making all the right acquisitions, and his job was to build a team around Michael Jordan. He went out there and found Tex winners. He got Phil Jackson from Puerto Rico. You know what I'm saying? And
Tony Kukoc might be like one of his true gem, like kind of like acquisitions, because he actually drafted Kukoc, I think, a couple of years before Kukoc really came over.
He did.
Yeah.
And so, like, when we look at the stat line and everything, we look at, what Michael Jordan did, and obviously he willed his team to win. But it was a collective that, put together something like that. I mean, he got Horace Grant too. And like you said, it's an all hands on deck thing. Even when it doesn't seem like it's an all hands on deck thing. Like, when you listen to Illmatic, you don't really feel like it's an all hands on deck thing, but it was.
Well, you want to know what, too, Mike? Because part of the legacies of even those producers there is Illmatic is what helped give all those guys legendary status, too. Those guys were in the midst of their runs of being legendary producers when they helped come together to make Illmatic. So that was one of those things that kind of cemented Q-Tip. That's one of those things that kickstarted Premier, really, and took Premier stuff to a next level. It's one of those things that solidified the stuff that Pete Rock and Q-Tip had already done. It solidified the stuff Large Professor had done. It got Biggie to want Unbelievable on his album, which kickstarted, you know what I'm saying? And so now
Q-Tip was coming off of what? He was coming off of Midnight Marauders. Large Professor was coming off of Breaking the Atoms. You had Premier coming off of
Hard to earn.
Hard to Earn. Yeah, I was gonna say Mass Appeal and stuff, but yeah, Hard to Earn. And you
That's
had Pete Rock
what
coming off of. I mean, they were making Main Ingredient at the time.
ingredient at the time.
And
Yep.
I mean, he was coming off of Mecca and the Soul Brothers. So yeah, these guys were in really good
Yeah.
stride. And
So hearing those beats on Illmatic and hearing Nas rhyme over them, that's one of those things that solidified them too. That's what I mean. It was a team effort. Like they understood. It's like, no, having this guy rhyme over our beats enhances us too. Like we both winning by doing that.
yeah, it is some of their biggest stuff in their, in just their discography. Like I
And some
think
of the
New
stuff
York
that
State
they're
of
known
Mind
for.
is one of the biggest, for Premier. I think The World Is Yours is one of the biggest for Pete. I think as a producer, yeah, One Love is probably one of the biggest for Tip outside of Tribe stuff.
It's the biggest outside of the Tribe stuff to me. If you want to call Vibrant thing bigger, yeah, but not more important to the culture, not more classic.
Oh no, no, definitely, definitely.
And you know what, too, Mike? Like, I want to say this right quick. Like, New York State of Mind, I think that beat might be the most important beat of DJ Premier's career because I think that's the beat that other MCs at the time heard. When they heard him do that and how Nas rhymed on that, I think that's what made other guys want Primo. Like, Memory Lane and Represent are dope beats, but they're not New York State of Mind. Like,
Well,
they're
one
not.
of the things that Illmatic did too is the fact that, these guys weren't really working outside of their camps. You know what I'm saying? At least not on a big level, right?
They really
And
didn't.
and yeah, and with Premier, he's in Gangstar. After Illmatic, people feel like, well, shit, I can get on a Premier track too. It's not just for Guru anymore.
Right, I can call Preem. I can get a Preem.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
I mean, same thing with Tip, man. I'm pretty sure that everybody thought that all of his production work was reserved to just, Fife and him.
Well, I mean, Tip is from Queens, so you hear him working on Illmatic one year, and where is he the next year, Mike?
Yeah, he did a lot for the Infamous.
The Infamous, Mike. That's what I'm saying. It's like this dude had a hand in Illmatic and the Infamous. It's like, go ahead and stamp that guy forever.
I think Pete Rock and CL Smooth are very well. I don't want to say Pete Rock is who he is. I think CL Smooth's ability to rhyme over Pete Rock's production and the job that he did on those two efforts is very understated. I have said before I think that CL Smooth is probably one of the most underrated MCs of all time.
He is, Mike, easily, because as a craftsman, he's one of the best and as good as it gets. So can I say something that's just minor critique? I don't think he carved out enough of an identity, though. And I think
you're
that
right.
ended up hurting him because the skills are there, Mike.
I think his identity was inwoven in, him and Pete Rock's collaboration. And then when Pete Rock started to branch himself off a little bit, it's like, oh yeah, this Pete Rock guy's just dope, period. And CL Smooth didn't. Man, I'll put it this way. I've said this before too. I think that those producer and MC groups benefited the producers more than it did the MC. Because now, if I'm in a group with Premier or I'm in a group with Pete Rock, there's not many places to go. You know what I'm saying? It's not like people want to hear me rhyme over a lot of any other people's stuff. I've done whole albums with Pete Rock. You don't want to hear me with, I don't want to name other producers, but you know what I mean. Like,
No, but that's the thing about it, Mike. So let's go to like Pete Rock
and
like
Fife had to deal with that too, but at least they had Dylan.
Right, but this is what I'm saying though. So let's go to that, Mike. So CL Smooth couldn't have got tracks from Q-Tip, couldn't have got tracks from Dilla, couldn't have got tracks from Prince Paul.
Maybe, but again, these guys got their own schedules. You know what I'm saying?
Stylistically though, but Mike, he had relationships with these guys. He knew these guys. They're all coming up around the same time. You know Prince Paul. You know Tip.
But back then, you know how it was back then.
He's doing them green beats like Mike. CL Smooth can rhyme over Memory Lane.
I feel you. But back then, it wasn't like today is. It was a lot of red tape. You know what I'm saying? Like, people couldn't even do collaborations on a person's album without being courtesy of Jive Records or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, You couldn't just jump in the studio, make something with somebody, and the shit come out. You could do that now. But back then, it was a lot of red tape.
Yeah.
And people probably weren't trying to sign CL Smooth as a, solo MC without Pete Rock. Try to sell that to the label. It's like, okay, well, why are y'all not together again?
Okay, so what do you think about CL Smooth in relationship to somebody like a Big L? You think he's comparable to L?
I think CL Smooth has proven he's a better songwriter than Big L. Is that fair to say?
It's fascinating thought. Do you think he's a better MC? Comparable? Same level?
I think when you factor in his songwriting abilities, I think that they're not too far apart. Obviously, like if you're talking about just punchlines and just spitting or whatever, yes, Big L might out rap him, rapidy rap him. But who would I rather listen to a whole album of? Probably CL Smooth.
Okay, I only say that to say because I think they're comparable as MCs.
Okay,
And people forget before Big L passed, unfortunately, he was getting recruited by Jay and Rockefeller Records.
right.
So all I'm saying is that like no, like when you got a certain level of talent and he has that certain level of talent, there could have been cats checking for him to sign him if he would have been putting out the material.
If he wanted that, right? I mean, and I think we even saw this with Rakim. I don't even know how we got down this rabbit hole, but I like it. I think we even saw this with Rakim where it's like when your group breaks up, it's a momentum killer. You know what I'm saying? And I would think that you would be like, you know what? Do I really want to do this anymore? Like the hunger's not the same when your group breaks up, especially if you're in a group where you had this producer, this incredible producer, and you didn't have to worry about finding tracks. You know how it is as an artist. Trying to find tracks can be tedious, and that's one thing that CL Smooth just didn't have to worry about being in a group with a Pete Rock.
No, Mike, it's a beast. It's one of the most unfun parts about being an MC is having to go seek out different producers, go to different studios, sit down for hours with different guys that you don't know and try to catch a vibe.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's work.
And so,
that's
like,
people MCing is hard. It's work, Mike.
And so, like, for that reason, I feel like, those producer MC combos, they, the MC gets the short end of the stick. And it's amazing that, I mean, look, let's look at The Dogfather. That's a product of that. It's hard. It's hard when you sat there and made your debut album with Dr. Dre, and now you don't have Dr. Dre.
Yeah, but I mean, also, too, it's like, how old was Snoop? Like 22, 23? He was young, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, but the fact that he kept going, you know what I'm saying, that's a tribute to his greatness. But I was going to ask you, since we're on this subject, we say that Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre are the best producer-MC collaboration. Who's number two? Who would you say has enough material to be number two?
So we would probably go, well, I mean, see, that's what I mean when you're saying actual producer. You're talking about just collaborative songs that they've done together, who sounds the best together? Or are you talking like actual group? That's what I'm saying, because like Snoop and Dr. Dre have never been a group. It's always been a collaborative effort. So if we're talking about so you're asking what producer, MC, collaborative effort sounds best?
Mm-hmm.
There are many. I mean, Has a Head, Nas and Primo comes to mind.
I think Missy and Timbaland come to mind for me first.
I was about to say, I was going to get the Missy and Timbaland. I told you, like, when we talking Missy and Timbaland, we're talking a whole nother ball. It's like they got their own little space stratosphere that they're hovering in this rap sphere. Kind of, Missy and Timbaland come to mind as well. You want to know what something that came to mind to me just a little bit, Mike, and I know this is going to surprise you, is that like when Common hit the mark with Jay Dilla, he really hit the mark with Jay Dilla. But when he didn't, he didn't. But I like the combo, you know?
How did you feel about the Common and Kanye combo? Wasn't long enough?
Yeah, it wasn't long enough to really rate it. We really got 2 albums worth of that to go off of, you know? And other people aren't a bigger fan of the Finding Forever like I am, so I don't think that played as well. I happen to enjoy Finding Forever, but it's definitely not B.
My Way Home on Late Registration's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I was listening to, I see people in here talking about Havoc and P. I was listening to...
They're a group. That's why I'm saying that's not a collaborative effort. That's a group. That's like, So if you're going with that, you're going with Eric B and Rakim, Kool G Rap and DJ Polo. You know what I'm saying? You got to throw all those guys in there.
Yeah. So we'll go without actual official group. Man, I was listening to Mos Def, man. Like, Mos Def is incredibly gifted. It still is. I feel like, did Mos Def start the whole singing, rapping thing for like male rap solo artists? I mean, I know some people trace it down to CeeLo, but I think CeeLo and Lauren are a little bit different when they played their roles in their respective groups. But as far as like Mos Def being able to go out there rhyming, then singing for a second, and then rhyming heavy again, Was he the one that just kind of broke that barrier down and not get credit for it?
Mike, it's possible because when you said that, I immediately thought about Umi Says, and I'm like, well, he's kind of rhyming, but he's kind of not, but he's kind of scatting, but he's kind of singing, but it's kind of all hip hop when Mos is doing.
No one ever questioned it. I always felt like, yo,
because it feels like hip hop.
Mm-hmm. Because I was listening to the song Brooklyn the other day, and he's doing everything on there.
Yeah, he is.
And I'm like, I truly feel like, I mean, we're gonna go down another rabbit hole. I feel like there was a plan for Mos Def, man. I think Mos Def was supposed to be a superstar. He was getting all kind of opportunities. He's super talented on the mic, incredible actor on top of that, and he just said, "Fuck it." You know what I'm saying? Like he was like the face of. You remember when MTV used to do like the Lyricist Lounge show, whatever that sketch comedy show? He was the face of that.
Face of a lot of stuff.
He was the face. I mean, he's damn near on the Chappelle show.
I mean, Mike, he's kind of the face of that whole MC Cypher lyricist backpack
period.
movement.
He was the face of that.
Mos is the face of that. Like I said, he's the face of a lot of things for his time, low key.
Yeah,
and
that's why they had him in that Carmen movie with Beyonce. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he was the face of that.
But deservedly
the hip hop
No, but deservedly so, though, Mike.
Of course.
It's not like none of that was warranted. He was super talented on all levels. Yeah.
I think, I mean, just when I listen to Mos rhyme, and I've always said this, like, when you talk about somebody who's just extremely naturally gifted, and he could spit a 16, it don't even sound like he's trying. And the shit is dope. And I think that's what I mean. And not to get back on Eminem or anything, but that's kind of what I mean when I'm talking about, you know, people trying. And I said the same thing about the Big Sean verse that was on Russ's album. Yeah, the verse is dope, but it sounds like you're really trying. Mos never had to do that. Never. Never. He was just so dope. So comfortable.
Mike, you want to know what one of my favorite things are from him? It's actually some of that Chappelle Show stuff. It's the What's Beef verse.
Crazy.
And the car ride.
And
Mike.
The car ride was, I remember when that came on, because I used to watch the Chappelle Show like when it came on. Yeah. I'm sitting here like in awe, and I'm like, this dude
we were all in awe, Mike. It wasn't just you. We were all
like, this dude, man.
Like, this guy different.
It's fucking natural, man. Like, it's
like how about this? This is what I'm talking about. Remember when I was talking about the bell-shaped curve and how when you put certain things on a bell-shaped curve, so like when you put Mos on like his curve, which is just like that Mike, he has a natural rapping agility.
It's crazy. It's hard to explain.
Crazy. And when he gets in that natural rapping agility zone, can't nobody fuck with Mos. Nobody.
No. And you know, people are in the comments, you know, singing his praises as well. The New Danger was brought up. I remember when I bought the New Danger the first day it came out. And again, I think Mos Def was so ahead of so many things. He made an album that I didn't want to hear from him at the time. I wanted to hear him rap. But
Mike, it's still uneven. It's still an uneven process.
But it's interesting, though. When I went back and listened to the New Danger maybe like a year or so ago, it sounded much better to me now than it did then. You know what I'm saying? Like, some of that stuff aged really well because I think he was so ahead of what was going on. You know what I mean?
You want to know what that also says? That also says Black on Both Sides really didn't get the total credit it deserved when it came out, too.
Black on Both Sides is so dope, but it still sounds like, even as great as he was on there, he was just scratching the surface. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, even when you listen to him on, like, Mr. Nigga or something, like, it's dope. But
it's not all the way there.
Yeah, it's like, he's better than this, even. Like, he's even better than this.
Better than that.
Right.
He's better than that.
Because, like I said, I was listening to Brooklyn the other day. When he comes in on that, the second part of it, it's a Roy Ayers sample. The dude is crazy. He didn't even have to go into that "Who Shot Your" part. Like, he could have just kept it there, and it was just so effortless, man. Like,
so Mike, you want to know? So this is what I'm talking about. Like, and why Eminem could never be like the GOAT, because there are guys like Mos when he steps up and performs and does stuff like What's Beef and contextualize it, but still entertains you, like by breaking it down. Beef is not what Jay said to Nas. Beef is when broke niggas can't find jobs. You feel what I'm saying? He's not saying anything necessarily even lyrically complex, but the way he contextualized it.
You remember
The way
his verse on the
Beef is-
Hurricane soundtrack?
What did he say? Beef is the Palestine and Gaza Strip. You get what I'm saying? You don't gotta be super lyrical to get your point across.
I mean,
And
even
so-
his verse on 2 Words on the College Dropout. Like,
words,
that's
no
not even
skip.
like super complex. It's like 2 words, United States, no
down,
love,
calm
no
down.
breaks. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, low brow, high stakes, crack smoke, black folks, Big Macs, fat folks, ecstasy, capsules, presidential scandals. Everybody move. What? Like, I don't need like all the, lyrical,
Right, so-
individual, smooth criminal shit. Like, come on now. Like, we don't need that. Like,
No, so that's why M to me is a dope MC, but not in the GOAT conversation. Because a guy like Most, when he shows up and does stuff like that, it's like, oh, well, you can't tell me that guy is the greatest MC of all time when Most can step in like that.
and you could tell that he's not even really trying like that. Like, it's
Just
effortless. You remember his verse on that Hurricane soundtrack, the Hurricane song, where he was talking about time, where he was like, "I am the inescapable, the irreplaceable. Who that?
Yeah,
I am
like,
time."
I heard that song and like, man, what you talking about? Like,
That
God,
shit is brilliant, man. And it's like,
yeah, he's brilliant.
yeah. But anyway, before I went on that Most Def tangent, he needs his flowers. But I really wish that the opportunity that Common was able to get working with Kanye, I wish we could have gotten that with Most Def around that time. It seemed like it was bubbling. But again, I think that Most is just one of those people, at least at that time, it's like, look, I'm cool, man. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't want to play the industry game, seems like, because it seems like everything was laid out for him. All the opportunities were laid out for him. He was in Brown Sugar at the time. Most Def was everywhere. He,
No,
like
I
you
told
said,
you,
he was the
low-key
face
the
of that.
face of a lot of stuff if you look around that time frame.
Yeah.
About 2-3 year period where you're like, man, Most everywhere, shining.
Because if you remember correctly, in the music industry at the time, they had that whole neo soul movement going on, right? And they put out all the India Aries, the Jill Scotts, the Music Soul Child, and everybody was going under this whole neo soul umbrella. And I think Most Def was supposed to be the face of that when it came to hip hop, because you had that whole mainstream hip hop, and then you still had the roots, Most Def, Calm, Talib, and all of that. And now Talib was doing the work to be the face of it, but Most Def was just Most Def. You know what I'm saying? Because Talib was coming out with a whole bunch of efforts, and Reflection Eternal dropped a very dope album, and then he dropped Quality. But when you make an album with somebody like a Most Def, and like you said, Most Def was in the stride that he was in, people were looking for Most Def. Shit, I know I was, man. I ain't even gonna front, man. I was looking on them Talib albums like, where Most Def at?
Look around for Most everywhere.
But that goes for anything, right? When the Lyricist Lounge stuff came out, where's Most Def song at? When the Rockets stuff came out, where's Most Def's verse?
Sound bombing, Mike. As soon as I sound bombing, I'm like, where Most at?
Yeah, when the sound bombing was dropping, I'm like, where Most Def at?
Where
He
Most
was
at?
the face of that shit. And I think that, I think where, let's say Common specifically, where Common was able to take it, I think that was supposed to be Most's spot, but, Most didn't want it.
Well, Mike, and I'm going to say something to you too. So, styles make fights. Is Most a better songwriter than Common, though?
I think he could have been, but that's
You
not
don't have
proven.
proof to back up the
I don't have
sentiment.
proof to back up that.
Right.
All I got is, like you said, the eye test.
the
I think
eye test.
that I
You know,
think
the
that.
eye test.
Which song do you think is more impressive, The Light or Miss Fat Booty?
Oh, Mike, I play Mrs. Fat Booty Miss Fat Booty way more than I play The Light. And I think both the records are brilliant, and I love the message of The Light. But, man, Most is breathtaking, man.
I mean, he had 2 24-bar verses on a single, and
Yeah.
it didn't matter.
She walked
And
away
he was
smiling,
just telling
singing
stories.
Gregory Isaac. If I don't. That's what I'm talking about. Mike, he started singing
Yeah.
for
Show me
Show-
a tan line and a tattoo, playing Sade's Sweetest Taboo, burning candles. All my other plans got canceled.
So,
But I do think that when you talk about songwriting or whatnot, he's more versatile. If I had one, listen, if they both were locked in, and I'm a record executive, I need one song. Give me Most Def, man.
really? As a record exec?
Give me one song. Yes.
As an MC, I'm gonna tell you that. As a record exec, I'm gonna tell you no.
I don't know. Does any of Common songs have more legs than Umi says?
I mean, Mike, if you really want to know the truth, I think The Light has more legs actually than all of those records. I just don't find the record to be better. Like The Light's still getting played. Like The Light gets played on like R&B contemporary radio stations.
I
Like
hadn't heard The
daily.
Light in a minute. I mean, but you hear Umi says on like commercials and all of that. Like,
I mean, Mike, Umi Says is just one of my favorite songs, like in life, period. Like that's like a required playlist song if I'm going somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
yo, Kendall
So,
Outlaw says, Mike D, has anyone ever told you you look like Method Man? You know what? I was on the MARTA one time, and somebody said that. That was like 15 years ago. That's crazy, man. You know, my mom texted me this morning and was like, Cliff Method Man is on Kelly in the morning, because I guess he's doing the promotion for the Power or whatnot. And I was like, yeah, mom, man. I was like my first favorite rapper. She was like, he looks like he's your age. I was like, nah, man, Method Man like 51. Black don't crack, man. Good for Method Man. And yes, Method Man was I think we were talking about this last episode. I think he was my first favorite rapper.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
No, I
good
love
to
it.
see him doing his thing, man. So, you know, it's funny. He says that. I was listening to Method Man all morning after my mom texted me that. But How High changed my life.
She put you in a whole zone.
Yeah, How
So-
High changed my life.
So, Mike, that was a nice little riff. We want to get back to finishing up with Dre. That was a nice long riff.
That was a nice long riff. I don't even know how we even got there. Okay. Anderson .Paak, is that where we're at? No, we were talking about producer and MC collaborations, and I think that's where we got to.
Well, I mean, I was saying Anderson .Paak is essentially like the new Nate Dogg. He's taken kind of Nate Dogg's formula, but he's flipped it, and he's doing something that Nate didn't do. He's doing more collaborative, like full-length projects, like with Bruno, but also doing more like solo material as well. Upgrade the formula, give it a little twist. But that's what I hear when I hear Anderson .Paak in a vacuum.
No, I agree with you. I think Anderson .Paak's incredibly talented, and you know, I wanted to see Anderson .Paak and Kendrick do a record together, like a full album. I guess initially when Anderson .Paak came to the camp, I felt like him and Kendrick had like similar, you know, like you said, styles make fights. I think they stylistically mesh, but Anderson .Paak has just proven that he can mesh with anything and everybody. He's just that talented of a musician, as an artist, as an MC, as a writer. I mean, he has songs with Smokey Robinson to Andre 3000.
He brings something to the track, Mike.
Yeah, he does. And and usually too, whenever he's on the track, like you said, he's a drummer. He's a musician. Period. There's a certain level of musicianship when he's on the track as well.
So let's go back to him being a drummer. That's what I was trying to say. Well, he fits perfectly in the spirit of hip hop, because what was hip hop originally based on, Mike?
Oh yeah,
based on drum loops.
Yeah. Rapping to the drummers beat. Let's dance.
He played drums, so you can go slide him in anywhere, and it's hip hop because he's a drummer on the track.
Listen, man, if everything went away and we just had drums, hip hop could still survive. Like I remember when the Neptunes dialed it back with grinding or whatnot. People thought that was just so groundbreaking, and you know it was at the time because it was a dial back. But yeah, when you got the drums, you could do whatever. That's
what I'm saying. You know, all they did was take it back and put them drums on like 59. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, no, take them all the way up and let it just like boom.
You know, at the end of the day, because when did Malibu come out, y'all? Malibu was like 2015. It's been a minute now. But anyway, Anderson .Paak has carved out a very nice catalog for himself, and he's continuously going. I think if Dr. Dre actually puts together a full effort, which I don't think he will, I think Anderson .Paak has to be a big part of it. I think Anderson .Paak has to be kind of like a mailman, hitman-ish type of ride-along with the next Dr. Dre effort, if there is going to be one. And I think these 6 songs just showed us that.
No. He needs to be all those things. Actually, I was thinking, I'm with you, Mike. He actually needs to be like Mailman and Nate Dogg on the next project, like both of those. Yeah, combined. Mike, like the scenic route, I know why you love that the most, because like just stylistically, it's probably the best song on here. But, and I'm going to submit this to you because that's the thing with these songs. Oh, well, you can tell he made that to rock with Ross. And when you really go back and listen to all these tracks, it's like, oh, well, gospel is made to rock with him. Scenic Route is made to rock with Ross. You know, I'm going to get the Black Privilege and my thoughts on it in a minute, but it's like he kind of, for the first time, gave you songs where it seemed like he carved out the beats for the artist instead of bringing the artist into his world when he's at the helm.
And that's interesting because we've talked about that. You know what I'm saying? And usually,
we've talked about that specifically.
Yeah, and usually Dr. Dre does the opposite. I think this is because it's for a video game. I think this is because it's for Grand Theft Auto, so he's doing the opposite. But if this was for an album, it'd probably be a little bit different. I agree with you. What did you think about? Go ahead.
He's capable of it, but here's what happens with being capable of it. If this was his project, Mike, how many of these songs would make the cut?
I don't think any of them.
I think maybe 2, ETA and Scenic Route potentially would make the cut. I think potentially.
I don't think Scenic Route will make it, and I agree with you on ETA. I don't think Scenic Route will make it because I didn't think it was his sound. But again,
sounds like he made it for Ross. It's in Ross's zone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, and I kind of like that he did that, but the record is strong enough that maybe towards the back end or on some bonus tracks type stuff. And I don't want to skip around too much and jump a record, but I want to talk about Black Privilege.
Before you do, I want to ask you this, and this is still on subject. What did you think of the Compton album?
I did. See, that's the thing when it's Dre. It's like, well, that's like, you know, that's like a 4 out of 5, and it doesn't even feel like a 4 because it's you.
What? I mean, all right, let's just say we were doing a show on it, right? What would your actual critiques of the Compton album be? Like, let's just say it came out today, and it's Friday. And I don't know, we hadn't listened to the album in a minute, so it might not be fresh in your mind. But what were some of your thoughts on hearing the Compton album when it came out?
Not up to his beat standards outside of about 3 or 4 records. Most notably, The Diary. The Diary is probably the best record on there. The intro and the outro are probably the best songs.
I think one of my takeaways was the fact that, you know, and I know times have changed, there just wasn't a standout song on there. Like, there wasn't... Yeah, it wasn't a G thing on there, and I know this is very critical because these are high points, but there wasn't a Next Episode on there. There wasn't a Still DRE on there. There wasn't an Explosive on there. Like, there wasn't a memorable song on there. They weren't bad records, right? But they almost kind of, and I say this respectfully, they kind of, a friend of mine, Will, he has this term that he used. I heard it for the first time when he was talking about, I think it was the Suit and Tie record with Justin Timberlake and Jay-Z. He said the song sounds overproduced. And I laughed like what? What's overproduced? But that Compton album sounds overproduced.
Mike, it's crazy. I have a friend, Dion. He's a software engineer out in Silicon Valley.
Mm-hmm.
We used to work together. When the Justin Timberlake album came out, that's exactly what he said about the record and for a good bit of that album. It's like, yeah, but Timberland has to try so hard to make this album great. It's overproduced.
Yeah, and I felt like that about the Compton album, and it was overproduced in almost a theatrical sense, right? I think at the time, Empire was on that show. And, you know, they actually came up with some... I think Timberland was like music producer or arranger or whatnot on that show, at least for the first season. So some of the songs on there were actually pretty dope, but they came across as very theatrical because it was made for stage, right? And it was made for a television series. That's kind of how those Compton songs, to me, kind of came through the speakers like they could have been on Empire or something. Very theatrical in that sense.
At the end of the day, you know what Compton really sounded like? Was Rush. Was because it felt like the bones of a lot of good stuff potentially could have been there had he had time to craft it. Because like I said, I even forget the name of the first track with King Mez. King Mez was from Charlotte, by the way. QC in the house. But that first record, Animals and Diary at the end were the only records to me that even really stood out as in like, yeah, I want to hear that again.
I think For the Love of Money was the song that I kept playing. The song with Jill Scott.
Yeah, I know a song you see that. I mean, see, and that's what I mean. It's rare that a Dr. Dre project comes out and you're trying to talk about like the 3 or 4 best records. You're usually talking about the whole damn project.
Right. But yeah. So with that being said, and I only brought up that project because I don't feel like it really had an identity either. at this point, listening to these 6 songs, I'm like, sonically, what actually is Dr. Dre's identity in 2021?
Well, Mike, I don't think this gives us any answers. Actually,
Yeah.
I think the closest thing we have to an answer is Scenic Route. That would be like I told you earlier on when we first started. That's the closest thing to a Chronic 2001 type of song and vibe from these set of songs. But Mike, I do feel like if we were rating this, I would rate Black Privilege as a missed opportunity, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
First of all, as soon as I heard the track, I was like, Game need to be on here. And then I heard him start rapping. I'm like, Game is on here, writing these bars.
Yeah.
All right. So, because my initial thought, Mike, I have Kendrick and Game. I'm like, man, this beat, when I heard the beat, I'm like, this is a great opportunity from Kendrick and Game to get on here and catch some wreck at the same time. Then I heard his whole rap style in the bars. I'm like, well, Game's on here. Kendrick's nowhere to be found. I'm going to scratch that thought. But then I started listening to the track some more, and I was thinking, you want to know what, Mike? Since he's pulling out all these heavy hitters and he's connected to both and has made records with both, that beat is the type of beat that Nas and Jay can get off on. And since you're collaborating with everybody and making tracks for everybody else, and we're taking it there, I would have liked to have heard Nas and Jay on Black Privilege. Look at the theme, look at the beat. I actually think Jay stylistically fits on there better than Nas does, but I think they can both get in and come off because it's still rooted in the elements of what Nas likes fundamentally with the bass line, but it does what Jay likes, like in terms of the pattern.
Okay. I wanna go with what you said initially. You're right. This was a missed opportunity for Kendrick Lamar to, be on this record. I mean, subject-wise, sonically, and the fact that, again, these guys are on the same bill when it comes to this Super Bowl halftime show. And what better way to get people ready for Kendrick Lamar, or if he does have some new music coming, than have him on a song called Black Privilege?
No, Mike, you're right. That's why I said I immediately went west and thought of Game and Kendrick on this record together. But then when I realized Game was writing it, I'm like, okay, Kendrick's not getting on. And my thought just from hearing the track, Mike, I'm like, man, all the Nas and Jay track collaborations, none of those beats are better than this beat. Get on this beat and catch some rep.
I mean, honestly, man, it makes me feel like Kendrick might not be coming with anything, man. I don't know if Kendrick's coming with any new music in the next month and a half. It's not a foregone conclusion. I mean, Mike, do you feel like anything's coming?
No, I mean, Mike, he should have caught this wave. He should have caught this wave. But since he didn't catch this wave, I'm going to assume he's in album mode.
Okay. You're going to assume he's in album mode.
I'm going to assume he's in
album mode. I'm going to say this.
You're going to assume he's fading.
I'm going to say this. I don't think we're going to get a Kendrick Lamar album between now and the Super Bowl. You do?
Ooh, Mike, you want to know what? How about this? Because when the NFL playoffs start, like what game are we at? Most teams 13 games, 17
games.
I
think it's week 15, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so we got about 2 or 3 actual weeks left, right?
Something like that. I think the Super Bowl is like the first Sunday of February. Okay, correct us if we're wrong, guys.
When they start promoting the NFL playoffs, because they're going to start promoting the Super Bowl festivities and stuff around that time, they're going to start talking about the Super Bowl more. If we don't get no run in about 2-3 weeks when that kicks off, Mike, I'm going to lean with you and say we ain't going to get nothing. But right now I'm going to say he's in album mode. Yeah.
I just don't feel it coming, man. I mean, I think that, again, if it were coming, this would have been the perfect opportunity to get a buzz going. You ain't dropped since 2017. And Dr. Dre rarely puts out music. And it's a cop-out because it's like, this is on GTA, so it's not like it's actually on an album. You could have got on this shit, flexed your shit, and you know what I'm saying? It would have been no harm, no foul, really. The fact that there is nothing on this, that's alarming to me.
I mean, how about this, Mike?
Miss Lynette says, M. Lynette says February 13th. Is the Super Bowl on February 13th? All right, so we got basically almost 2 months.
More or less.
I don't think we're getting a new Kendrick Lamar project in 2 months. I don't.
I mean, Mike, albums get recorded in 1-2 weeks. So it's like, that's what I'm saying. He could be in album mode right now. Like literally while we're saying this, he could be halfway into the album.
He had dropped an album since 2017. I guess I'm not really. He's fallen into the whole Dr. Dre Outkast realm for me at this point. I'm not expecting an album.
Really? Is it that serious to you, Mike? Like, all jokes aside, is it that serious?
I'm not expecting that. It's 2000. It's about to be 2022. He hasn't dropped an album since 2017. How can I expect new music? Especially when we're in an era where people are dropping music like that. They are. Anybody
No,
that
I
you
mean,
can name
Mike,
who's in this
Mike,
generation, there's nobody else who's taken off since 2017
oh,
that we talk
in
about, young
Mike,
or old.
Mike, in these 5 years, Griselda has galvanized an entire empire.
Yeah.
Roman style, Egyptian style.
I mean, Jay-Z has dropped an album since then.
We already went through the Nas thing. Was it not?
Yeah,
Nas
Nas done dropped 4 albums since then. So, I mean,
Very.
who are we gonna mention? Who else are we gonna mention? Snoop done dropped an album. Drake's obviously dropped albums. J. Cole
Drake's
stays working.
Yeah, Drake's dropped a couple albums. Cole's dropped a couple albums.
DeCarlo says, Mike, Kendrick's gonna make the best album you've ever heard in this era. Watch. I'm not gonna hold my breath.
Mike, he just need to make something as good as Alfredo or King's Disease 2 or Pray for Paris.
You're saying that like that's easy to do or something.
It's not easy to do, but if you're somebody of his caliber, you're supposed to be capable of doing it. So, Mike, how about this, Mike? People don't go through like the turnstiles, like to see basketball games, to see people who they have expectations of performing, not performing. Like, if you're going to see Steph Curry, you want to see him hit 6 to 12 threes. If you're going to see KD, you want to see him get 30 to 35. It's your expectation because you know that they can do it. It's what you're paying for.
The problem is that the expectations don't get any easier the longer you wait.
No, but that's what you pay for. So the expectation is that
I'll tell you what.
No, his expectation as a performer, and this is what I keep leaning back on. It's like, well, he's always performed when he has performed.
That's real. I mean, you know what? I'll tell you this.
So he's going to perform in my estimation.
If he goes out there and drops a classic to make everybody forget about this long break, he's definitely a top 5 guy.
Top 5?
All right. He solidifies his top 10.
There we go. That's a little better.
But depending on what this effort is, if it's that incredible where we're like, yo, this was worth the 5-year wait, and people still feel like he's at the top of the game, I have to consider him for top 5.
So, Mike, I'll give him top 5 consideration if this happens. First of all, I'd like to say to all of you who told me To Pimp a Butterfly was better than Good Kid, Mad City all these years, how wrong do you feel now that you never played that album?
I still think it's a better album.
It's not, Mike. You don't play it. It's ridiculous.
I don't really play Good Kid, Mad City like that either. I think that Kendrick's one of those people who, like I said, he's kind of like a black version of Eminem in a sense where he's so technically sound. I can't say this stuff's not like, on a technical level great, but it doesn't have a lot of replay value. I gotta admit.
This is what I'm saying about, okay, so let's just put it on a flat surface, so to speak. If you're playing your playlist and a song from To Pimp a Butterfly comes on, it doesn't invoke you to want to listen to the rest of the album. When songs from Good Kid, Mad City come on, it makes you think about the other great records on that album, makes you want to listen to them. Like when Backseat Freestyle comes on, it's like, oh, you want to know? I want to hear Money Trees now.
Well, I feel the opposite. Whenever I hear like Hood Politics, or not Hood Politics, what I'm talking about. Like Black of the Berry. Or if I hear like the live version of I, which I think was a brilliant addition to the album, because the regular version of I, not so much. Now, the weakest spot to me on To Pimp a Butterfly is King Kunta. Never liked that song. I don't even think that song's at the level of the rest of the album. So I will give you that. There's no King Kuntas on Good Kid, Mad City. There's no songs on Good Kid, Mad City where I'm like, yeah, this shouldn't be on here.
Mike, it's a beautiful record, but I'm just going to keep on saying this. It's a beautiful piece of artwork to hang on the wall. We just happen to exist in this part of the art form where you play it in your ride, not hang it on the wall.
Uh, I don't know, man. I
Like
think
we
that
get Mad City in the ride.
yeah,
You'll be riding around the Pimp a Butterfly, Mike. You know you don't. You know everybody know that they don't. And I just say this to say,
Money
Mike,
Trees is special.
if he comes back and makes something comparable to Good Kid, Mad City, we can have some top five conversation. Not to Pimp a Butterfly or Damn. That's not top five consideration because you don't ride to that.
What did you think about Damn?
I mean, Mike, I enjoy listening to Damn more than I enjoy listening to Pimp a Butterfly. I still think To Pimp a Butterfly is a slightly better record, but neither one of them are Good Kid, Mad City, and neither is Section 8.
I feel like he was more versatile on Damn. I think Damn, I don't know. It feels like Damn is more him, right?
It does. Here's what I will say about Damn. The MC on there, that was a guy that I heard. It's like, oh no, that's the best MC in the game, because I don't know if you necessarily said that with full credence at the end of Good Kid, Mad City, and he put together To Pimp a Butterfly so well that you sometimes forget the level of lyricist he is. On Damn, it's like, oh no, he is the best MC in the game. Listen to that shit.
Yo, Kendall Outlaw says something out of pocket. He said even Thriller had a terrible song, Baby Be Mine. Baby Be Mine is my favorite Michael Jackson song.
It is.
It's my personal favorite Michael Jackson song. Yeah, Baby Be Mine is not a terrible song. I don't know what you're listening to. It might not be a hit. Yes, it's the only song on there that wasn't a single or a standout, but Baby Be Mine is a dope song. Come on now. What are we doing here? Baby Be Mine's a terrible song. You know, speaking of Michael Jackson, and I don't want to jump around too much, man. I was listening. Very disrespectful. I was listening to Dangerous today, man. I don't care what anybody says. Dangerous is a better album than Bad.
Than Bad?
It is.
No, Mike.
It's a better produced album and everything.
It's not better.
Bad got the hits. I will give Bad that. Bad got the hits, but
Mike, Dangerous?
Dangerous is a better album than Bad. In the end.
Jam? Are we talking about with Jam and Keep It in the Closet?
Keep It in the Closet is dope. I'm not a big Jam fan, but
Remember the Time is dope, Mike.
Remember the Time is dope. Keep It in the Closet is dope. Why You Want to Trip on Me is dope.
Why You Want to Trip on Me is better than Keep It in the Closet.
I don't know about that.
In my opinion, I wasn't that big on Keep It in the Closet like that.
It was a dope record.
Damn is Mike on his stadium flow, low key. It's his hip hop stadium flow. I like.
And then he was able to do Heal the World on there. He was able to do Keep the Faith on there.
Heal the World on there.
Yeah, Heal the World's on there. Keep the Faith is on there. Black or White's on there. The Free Willy song is on there. Will You Be There is on there.
Dirty Diana, Mike.
Dirty Diana's my favorite song on Bad.
Mike, Liberian Girl.
Those you naming my two favorite songs on the album.
Mike, The Way You Make Me Feel.
It's an okay song.
Whoa, Mike. Hold on, Mike. Whoa, hold on, Mike. I almost feel about the way you make me feel, the way you feel about Baby Be Mine. You need to watch it.
I like The Way You Make Me Feel, but you know, it's
That's Mike. That's the actual last time you get like innocent love Mike like in his prime.
It's a good song. He sounds great on there. I think that's the thing about Bad. He's a better singer on Bad.
I'm about to say the vocal performances on Bad, Mike.
Honestly, I think the vocal performances on Bad might trump Thriller in certain senses.
He's a better singer on
He's
Bad.
Just a better singer on there.
Better singer. He knows how to do everything, and he has it mastered.
I never was a big fan of Smooth Criminal, the actual song. I mean, I think the video is the greatest video of all time, but the song itself, I never was a big fan of that. I never was a big fan of Speed Demon either.
Speed Demon is one of those records from there that didn't age well.
Yeah.
It's still better than Dangerous.
I still like the song with Stevie. I still like Just Good Friends, but I think with Michael and Stevie collaborating, I expected more.
Mike, how do you actually feel about the record Bad, the actual song?
I don't like the song. I would listen to Jam before I would listen to the song Bad. Yeah, Your Butt Is Mine and all. It was just never.
I mean, outside of Your Butt Is Mine.
Now I like Another Part of Me. DeCarlo brought up Another Part of Me. I love that song.
Yeah, okay.
But I just think like on a production level, like when you listen to like the Free Willy song, Will You Be There? It's like it's just produced very well. Like if we talk about on a structural level, like the way that the songs were put together on Dangerous, Keep It in the Closet with that whole intro and all of that.
So I think, Mike, you're speaking to something. I'm going to tell you what you're speaking to. Well, that was the first time he hadn't really just worked with Quincy, and so everybody just went and gave him their best shot. There was their first real shot at Mike. Right. So everybody was shooting. They were shooting. You know what I'm saying?
No, and you can hear it.
Mike, Quincy had him for 3 albums, though, Mike.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Quincy had him for 3 albums. So it's like on Dangerous, he's free. So, like, everybody's giving their best stuff. Teddy Riley, like, here you go. You know what I mean? Jimmy Jam, Terry, they're like, here you go.
And, you know, I guess the decision.
What do you need, Michael? What can we do?
The decision I really.
We need to build Bubbles a guest house, Mike.
The decision I really didn't love on Bad was the fact that Rod Temperton was no longer involved, right? And, you know, again, he made Baby Be Mine. He made Rock With You. He made Thriller. He made some of Michael's best music, in my opinion. And the fact that he was missing, like you said, the melodies were kind of a little bit lackluster on Bad. You don't get a Remember the Time type of melody on Bad.
Mike, I will say this, Mike. There's not a record on Bad that I love more than I love Remember the Time. I'll tell you that. Because it's not a record that's more beautiful or well produced on there. So I'll give you that.
I remember when Remember the Time came out, I was a little kid. I thought it was a song that I missed from Michael's previous stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, it sounded, again, Rod Temperton-ish when it comes to
very much
chord progression and all of that. So, like, yeah, I think that Dangerous kind of did a whole lot of things. It was Michael's first album in the CD era. So it was the first time he was able to fit like 70 minutes on some shit. So
I mean, Bad. Okay, I mean, yeah. No. You're right. No, you're right.
Brian Whittle says, "Why'd y'all even start talking about Michael Jackson? Because somebody called Baby Be Mine whack." All right, let's get back to what we were talking about. You were talking about Black privilege, and I think that yes, there was a missed opportunity there with Kendrick Lamar not being on that record, subject matter wise, sonically, and the fact that Kendrick's not on there kind of makes me worried. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's more highlighted at the fact that it's obvious that even the game is contributing on a songwriter's level, even when you're not hearing his voice on the track. And so it's like, well, damn, he literally has everybody that he's worked with who kind of matters, except for a few icons, which is like Ice Cube, Nas, Jay-Z. And it's like, well, we're not really expecting them to come in the lab with him like that anyway. And so Kendrick is the only guy that maybe we would expect to come to the lab that didn't show up to the lab. And so I'm going to say he's in his own lab making his album because he usually doesn't get beats from Dre.
That usually doesn't happen. This is the thing. When we said this earlier. When Dr. Dre's releasing stuff, regardless if it's like, you know, going to make it to the surface or not, and we even saw this on Compton, everybody's there. All hands on deck. Because what Dr. Dre's music means, it means something's coming. And this is a launching pad. There's no better launching pad for whatever you got going on than to get on Dr. Dre's record. You know what I'm saying? If you got something in the works, whether you Exhibit, whether you Corrupt, whether you Nate Dogg, whether you Snoop Dogg coming back out, whether you Eminem, whatever, you're going to be on this Dr. Dre effort. And like you said, the fact that all the main players are here and Kendrick Lamar is probably the most notable current main player on Aftermath, and he's not here, we hear Game throughout this. Game's there. Eminem's there. Anderson .Paak's there. Snoop's there. Busta Rhymes is there.
The DOC.
The DOC is there. Kendrick Lamar's not on Black Privilege? Huh? I don't know, man.
I mean, the track's set up for him. That's why I told you. As soon as I heard the beat, I'm like, that's Game and Kendrick time.
Yeah. And the fact that he's not on there kind of, I don't know. What do you think about the Dr. Dre song Diamond Mine featuring Nipsey Hussle and Ty Dolla $ign?
No, I really enjoyed it. Like I said, Mike, for the bass part, just musically speaking, if we're not judging it against his like album standards, The Chronic and Chronic 2001, these are all dope records with the exception to me of Falling Up, which is just solid. The rest of these records are dope, including that one.
Falling Up kind of sounds like Game too.
Yeah, no, Falling Up is Game too. That's what I'm saying. It's just like, no, I told you, Mike, just stylistically from what I heard, it sounds like Busta and Game wrote most of this stuff to me.
Spliff Spark says, it's crazy how Dr. Dre and Ice Cube don't collaborate often. I think Ice Cube kind of described it as, you know, being friends with somebody in high school and, you know, everybody kind of just goes a separate way. You know, ain't no problems, just, you know.
Yeah, I mean, well, people forget this. It's like, Mike, On Let Me Ride, you remember when Let Me Ride interlude, when Dr. Dre's coming, I mean, when Ice Cube's coming out, damn, it was a good day. So they've been back cool for a long, long time.
Very long time.
Like
They
Natural
made
Born
Natural
Killers,
Born Killers, yeah.
I'll say Natural Born Killers to me, like pound for pound, is still one of the best rap records I've ever heard, Mike. So it's not like, remember Hello off of War and Peace?
I loved Hello.
Love
Ice
Hello.
Cube went crazy on there.
He did. He did. So it's not like this. No love lost. That's what I'm saying. I'm not expecting Ice Cube to pull up, but when he does pull up, they usually do some pretty good work. You're more likely to hear
Madman
him on-
says DLC
you're more
sounded
likely-
good. He did.
Yeah, you're more likely to hear Ice Cube and Dr. Dre together on Games album than you are on one of
Right.
their albums.
Yeah,
probably.
somebody's probably going to bring them together. I think Ice-T was recently talking about the fact that, people ask him, like, why haven't you and Dr. Dre ever collaborated? He was like, it just hadn't happened. There's nothing real, nothing about it. It's just, we real cool. He just hadn't recorded me. And vice, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes things just don't happen.
Right.
Yeah. The DLC did sound really good. I didn't even recognize him.
DLC is a great lyricist, Mike. I mean, his story is actually probably one of the sadder stories in hip hop history that doesn't involve somebody passing away.
Right.
Because, I mean, this is somebody who had like number one MC type of potential and capabilities. He's articulate, he's clear, he's detailed, he's a top-notch lyricist. He's obviously a dope songwriter because we've known that for years now from behind the scenes. Ain't too many tools in the bag that he didn't have, but Mike, what he had that most people forgot, man, he had a great rap voice, Mike. His original rap voice before the accident, he had a great rap voice. It was emphatic, it was booming and piercing at the same time. And so one of his greatest gifts got taken from him, but all other gifts appear to be in tow still, and he sounds good despite, I think time has been kind to him and healed him a lot. He sounds good.
Oh, definitely. Bob Bridge says, I wish I would have gotten the Ice Cube solo from NW. This means NWA. You know what? That's the thing, man, about Cube. Even when he left, he didn't really lack too much. And I say it all the time. I think when you talk about Death Certificate Cube from 92, and you think about NWA in 92 with Niggas for Life, if we could have had Ice Cube on Niggas for Life, that could have possibly been one of the greatest hip-hop albums ever. But again, it's so crazy to even think that at that time, NWA and what they were talking about on Niggas for Life and what Cube was talking about, they were polar opposites.
Well,
but if somehow sonically that could have come together, I can't even imagine.
Well, how about this? Cube as a songwriter is so strong that he probably would have taken more of the... How about this? Because of his skill set as a writer, they would have followed his lead more on those songs. So we would have had a more content-driven album behind those beats, which prior... I mean, Mike, I told you, Mike, like, what Niggas for Life really is the moment that Dr. Dre becomes a really great producer. Mm-hmm. And so that is also happening around the time that Ice Cube is becoming an all-time great MC. So that's when we missed him.
Junior Sexman says NWA was holding up Ice Cube. That's kind of what you just said. And I do agree with that to a certain degree. I think that Ice Cube, working within the confines of NWA, he's not able to, spread his wings, for lack of a better term, and become the MC that he was able to become.
Think about this. NWA is so culturally important and significant, but Ice Cube crafted out such a legendary career that you almost never really missed the fact that he wasn't with NWA, because the stuff that he did by himself, it was like, nah, I'm good with that.
Ice Cube leaving NWA after Straight Outta Compton, good decision or bad decision in your opinion?
Great decision and one of the boldest moves in rap history.
Yeah, I agree.
He bet on himself, paid off in a major way.
Yep, definitely. He knew what he added to the group.
He knew who he was, Mike. He knew who he was early on.
When I look at those old Ice Cube interviews and when he was a young man and when he talked to the media, I don't think there's anybody that, like you said, knew who he was to the level that Cube did at that point. Even when you listen to Tupac do interviews, he was very enlightening in many ways, but you could tell he didn't have it all together. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of it was kind of...
together.
Huh?
He told you he didn't have it all together.
Exactly, and he was verbalizing that too. But Cube at 19, 20, this dude was bold. He was straight to the point. Next question. You know what I'm saying? Like it was phenomenal actually.
I mean, Mike, on a lot of levels, when you look back at it, look how empowering he was.
He
Like he
was.
literally kind of like he bossed up really quick, and he bossed up like kind of like in a black way. It's like no, he running around with the nation and the lynch mob, and doing I wouldn't say gangster movies, but doing movies that are depicting more of the inner city situation where he comes from, and so it's like yeah, like he got real bossy real fast. I mean, Mike, when did he leave the group? 1990? By 94, Mike, I mean, he's iconic by 94.
I mean, yeah, definitely. And even when you look at what he did in film with like Friday, and like you said, taking
I mean, like Friday's probably the moment where
betting
he
on
became
himself.
iconic. No, that's what I'm saying. Friday is probably the moment where he became iconic because, like, now you got Boys in the Hood and you got Friday. It's like you got the real street classic, you got the funny street classic, you got these rap classics, you got that group classic sitting back there, icon.
And like
And
you
about
said, he
years,
did it like a boss. Like even his deal with Priority, people don't really talk about, we don't talk about Cube in an entrepreneurial sense. You said, that was such a bold move to even leave NWA at that point in their I won't say hype, but you know what I'm saying, at that stage of their popularity and their influence. Not a lot of people would have done that. A lot of people would have sat there and rode out the next contract or signed a messed up contract because of where they were. He bet on himself, and he didn't just do it with music. Like you said, he did it with film, and his deal with Priority, I mean, this is the same Priority that gave Rockefeller their first deal for Reasonable Doubt. Same Priority that gave No Limit that 80-20 deal. So Cube was doing this shit before any of that.
I thought Master P's deal was 85-15.
I've always heard 80-20, but maybe. I don't know. But again, it's all about what you put up. And at that point, Ice Cube had a lot of juice. And you better believe he was calling the shots at whatever deal that Priority wanted to get to him. And he did the numbers on top of that. What'd he say? I'm platinum, bitch, and I didn't have to sell out.
So, Mike, let's go to not selling out. The script of Friday, nobody wanted to pick it up. So he made it himself for about $3 million. The first year, Friday made $18 million. $15 million profit turnaround, probably more money than he had made in the previous 3-4 years being a solo rap artist and doing like the Boys in the Hood movie. But Mike, he wasn't afraid to do it himself. Just like he wasn't afraid to leave NWA. He's like, oh, y'all don't want to make my movie? I'm going to start my own entertainment company, Cube Vision, and make the movie. Boss.
Like you said, that might be the boldest move ever in hip hop. We talking about NWA, the most, I think it's fair to say they're probably one of the most, if not the most influential hip hop group of all time at the height of their powers.
It changed everything, Mike.
And the reason why it even shows that it was no hard feelings, he didn't even diss them. You know what I'm saying? He left, he didn't even diss them. They dissed him.
They caught the wrath.
He was unbothered in his decision. Like you said, he believed in himself.
Early on.
I would love to see a biopic on Cube or just a documentary on just Cube alone, because we don't talk about Cube and the special things that he did early in hip hop.
Hey, Mike, remember the whole thing last year about not sitting down with the Democrats? And he like, what they talking about?
Man, you already know how I feel about that.
No, Mike, but Mike, look at all the things that are happening. Was he wrong?
I mean, anybody who has critical thinking skills enough to actually look at a situation without looking at what people are telling you could see what was going on. Right. And the fact that somebody who, like you said, has done so much for Black America through their films, music, and just overall just expression and what he's done sonically and musically, you want to flip on him for this?
I mean, Mike, this is a guy
for somebody who's done nothing, right?
Mike, he literally got a shirt that says "not for sale." You know what I'm saying?
So let's think about this, right? Somebody like Cube, who doesn't need it, right? He has his own career, his own legacy. He's wealthy.
He's got his own league now, Mike. He's got his own miniature basketball league. Like, you know, you
He
gotta
does
make.
not have to draft up a contract for Black Americans and make it a bipartisan contract for either side to, come to terms with. He doesn't have to do that. And the fact that he did that, didn't pick any side, and all it took was for one side to pick it up, the side that you've been told you shouldn't rock with no matter what. People want to flip on Ice Cube. Anyone
No,
who feels that way, I'm sorry, man. Like, you
you need
need
to
to
be flipping on
really,
your oppressor.
you need to deprogram yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all that is. But again, like I said, much respect to Cube and all of his bold moves. Again, that was another bold move. I think the only thing that I was somewhat critical of that move last year. I wish he would have talked to more people who were championing him other than the people who were trying to debate with him. But I
No,
get it.
but he's consistent with who he is, though, Mike. He like, I don't need nobody championing for me. I'm Ice Cube. I got this.
No, 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 I get that. No, like I said, I get it. I mean, even in the early 90s when he would
That's
go and
okay.
do his
Always
media
said
runs,
that.
he would
Yeah,
always go to people who were, somewhat critical.
yeah.
But,
He's consistent.
DeCarlo says, Mike, we talk a lot about Rick Ross making boss moves, but I think Cube is the one we miss all the time. I agree. I think Cube is it's an interesting thing, too, where we see all these Forbes lists and they always do those hip hop lists. It's certain people that you never see on the list, and it's like, come on, man. Cube's been making super boss moves for 30 years. You're
Yes,
telling me he's not on these lists? No,
yeah.
you don't want to highlight people who are doing it like he is.
Mike, I told you in 1994, just off Friday alone, Cube
Yeah.
Vision netted $15 million profit.
There's
That's
never been a
94.
time where Cube, especially in his prime, wasn't moving units, man. Like and he's in Cali too, and you know how Cali and Texas rock. You could eat off of those states alone. Like those are independent hubs. Like E40, anytime he released something, he doing numbers. So Cube been doing numbers, and he been doing it on his own. When you want to say he's not on no list, yeah, right.
I mean, Mike, there's not a lot of rappers walking around with multiple multi-platinum albums.
Mm-mm.
Like, those guys don't grow on trees.
Not to mention the fact that, like you said, he did it.
And they're
He
actually
did it
those
during
rap
a
records, Mike, they're multi-platinum rap records that are actually great. Like, they deserve to be multi-platinum.
I'm trying to think though. I mean, since we're talking about Cube, you had people like Too Short that were kind of doing it somewhat independent. You know what I'm saying? Like really, to an independent level out the trunk. But before Cube, were there any hip hop artists like on a big level that weren't signing these contracts to the big time labels that were probably getting, unfair deals? Because it's fair to say Cube probably got a fair deal at Priority. Because he left NWA, didn't sign shit. He already had the buzz from NWA. He was Cube. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the name recognition was there. So I'm sure he was calling the shots at Priority. Was there anybody before him that we could say had that kind of leverage with record labels in hip hop?
As an MC, as a rapper,
Yeah. I mean,
not that I can
period.
recall, Mike. Not that I can recall. No.
Period.
Not that I can recall offhand. Like, somebody's going to have to come educate us on that.
Yeah. Because I'm trying to think. I mean, even Hammer, Hammer was grinding it, out the trunk and all that. I don't know what Hammer's deals was looking like, but
But this is what I'm saying about it, too. And this is what I mean about how young hip-hop still is. Well, Mike, when Cube is doing this, hip-hop's not even 20 years old.
right, because everybody's in their first contract at this point.
Right. So, like, it seems like a long time ago, but it is a long time ago, but early on for hip hop still. So very groundbreaking in a lot of ways. Like, Mike, we're talking about 1990. Hip hop got started in 1974. We're talking about 16 years later.
Well, I mean, even if we talk about some of the first record contracts, that wasn't really happening until, let's see, like the Run DMC contracts and maybe like Houdini. But see, those were still
I
a
think
handful.
Sylvia Rone with Sugar Hill. Mike,
Sugar Hill was independent though.
they got signed to something by Sylvia, didn't they? Because that was kind of her start and their start, kind of making those moves through the hip hop
I
spectrum.
thought Sugar Hill Records stayed an independent record label because they were saying that Curtis Blow was the first to sign to a major label. That was Mercury Records,
I
And
feel I feel like Sylvia had her hands in early with somebody, Mike, like before '85.
because I think too,
That's a
World
good.
Class Wrecking Crew was the first to sign a major deal out west.
Yeah, what's that? '83, '84.
Yeah, yeah. But even then, like I said, handful of people. And by the time Cube made the move that he made, because he never signed that contract with NWA, everybody was probably still in their first contract.
I mean, and think about this, Mike. He never really ate off NWA.
Well, he did. Like what Scottie Pippen say, he was like, I'm gonna get my time. I might be underpaid now, but yeah, I'm gonna get my time. And that's what he did. He didn't eat off of NWA, but he was able to take that leverage and really eat by himself.
No, he understood his power, even though he didn't have the money. Hmm.
Yeah, he's an incredible story, man, and we don't talk about enough. And you want to talk about boss moves as an artist early? I mean, it don't get no better than Cube.
Has he ever talked about? Have you ever heard his stories about how he talked about, like, those early rhymes and like how they got inspired? Because he used to. So Mike, he went to Woodland Hills High School. Woodland Hills is the Valley. I know because I recorded some music out there because my producer moved out there. I think my second year living out in Cali. Woodland Hills is the Valley. He living in South Central LA, Mike. So every day he's going to high school and seeing all these rich white kids with money when he's pulling up on the school bus. He's literally talking about they're pulling up in their BMW convertibles and hopping out, and like life is great for them. He was like, we going through hell, And so that's where a lot of that came from, was he was seeing the disparity every day, leaving his neighborhood and then going to this school in the Valley and seeing all these white kids who had it. They're only like 30, 40 minutes away. He's like, what the fuck? He's like, how this happened to my people? He's 16, he's 15, 16, 17 years old. Like, how the fuck did this happen? Why is Peggy pulling up in a drop top red BMW at 16? I'm still on the school bus. We don't even know if the light's going to be on when I get home.
Cube had to have some strong people around him, though. Like, for him to be that observant and to do something about it and be able to articulate all those things, he has some sort of strong foundation, because he has an old soul, seems like.
Yeah, but he was that way early on, Mike.
He never changed. Yeah, I mean, I think that I always say this because I feel like NWA kind of piggybacked off of Public Enemy's production style for Straight Outta Compton, but I feel like Cube was like the Chuck D for a younger generation.
Yeah,
at that time.
They took from Boogie Down Productions and Public Enemy. But yes.
And Cube will say that Chuck D is his favorite rapper. Or at least I've heard him say that before.
Tupac used to say much of the same. A lot of those guys from that era that were coming up around that time felt that way about Chuck, and rightfully so.
Chuck was saying stuff that other rappers weren't saying.
He was saying stuff they were too shook to say. There you go.
Yeah, I love it, man. And that's the Cube I like, honestly. Like, when I hear Cube on, Death Certificate, that's one of my favorite
rappers. The nigga you love to hate,
rappers.
Mike. That's my guy. The nigga you love to hate. Yeah.
Yeah. It's but see, we're answering questions out here just by talking. Do you really see Dr. Dre making records with that guy? Like, because they just don't, subject matter wise, they don't really mesh.
Yeah, they haven't meshed since they were kids. That's why I'm saying a lot of that rhetoric from Ice Cube coming early on, it came from a contentious place, but then he started to shape it and scope it. It wasn't always like bang, 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 bang. He like, what's up with this fucking inequality?
Right. NWA wasn't ready to talk about those things. I mean, you had Express Yourself and things like that, but...
Express Yourself, Mike?
Huh? Yeah. But I'm saying it's clear. You know what I mean? And when you look at the direction of Niggas for Life, like on the production level, like you said, that's when Dr. Dre became a great producer. But subject-wise, it's like that stuff didn't really age that well. You know what I mean?
Mike, it's high level violence and misogyny. It's missing the social commentary and rhetoric of Ice Cube.
Oh, definitely. He was the purpose of the group. If you want to talk about like just the social conscience.
The mission behind the group are the words of Ice Cube. So when you take Ice Cube away, the group doesn't have no mission. It's just dope beats and some dope rhymes.
Now you want to talk about misogyny, and I'm not one to really, harp on a lot of those things, because hip hop, we could go on and on with that. But I think if I had to rate the most misogynist hip hop album of all time, it's Niggas for Life. The stuff that's said on there,
it's awful.
Crazy.
I mean, Mike, there's not one record on there I could still play for my daughter, and she's almost 15.
I would never. I would never be in the car with my daughter playing any of the shit on that album.
Appetite for Destruction came on one time. I was like, let's just go ahead and skip that.
Hey, shout out to Tominette said he sent the super chat of $5. He said, big fan of the chats. Will donate every time y'all make a live. West Side Connection was my favorite album in the early 2000s. Bow Down was wild. Yeah, man.
It's a great album.
Yeah.
It's a great album. West Side Connection is one of the better albums that come out the West Coast from that era. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I think, you know, people talk about Cube and Dre. I think that the Cube and Tupac thing is a little bit more wild to me that they didn't collaborate because both of them were in film, right? You know, mutual acquaintances and people like Yo-Yo and stuff like that. And you would just think that where they both were mentally, that was just a collaboration waiting to happen. Even with their relationship with Scarface.
Well, so a lot of ties and common denominators. They do have a song together, Last Words on Strictly for My Niggas with Ice-T and Ice Cube.
Yeah.
So Pac actually reached out to Ice Cube early on for his second project because I think people forget this. Like, Cube precedes Pac's stardom literally only by a year or two. So Pac was actually, I think, trying to get to where Cube was. You know what the delay on Pac's first album was, right? America's Most Wanted had just dropped. And the label was telling him, like, Cube got it right now. You have to wait.
Yeah.
That's why Tupacalypse Now got delayed.
Do you think there was a level of competition between the two of them?
Possibly for Tupac because he wanted to be where Ice Cube was because, like I said, mantras are similar, no similar people, similar themes, except for Ice Cube. I mean, when Pac is dropping Strictly for My Niggas, that's what, 93? I mean, Cube's already double, triple platinum a couple times.
Well, yeah, Cube's a legend by 93. I mean, I guess I'm thinking more so maybe 95-ish, right? Like,
but it's too late by then. That's what I'm saying because so much of a whirlwind had happened to Pac, and that's kind of when Cube had kind of left the rap sphere and ventured into film as 95-ish. You get what I'm saying? Because he doesn't pop back up really in the rap sphere till 98. After what? Death Certificate's the third album, right?
Yeah.
After Death Certificate, Mike, he doesn't pop back up until 98, I think.
What? No. You got Death Certificate, you got The Predator, where, you know, The Good Days on.
Oh, what year is that? What year is The Predator?
The Predator is 94, isn't it, y'all?
I think it's 94. So, yeah. Mike, in 94?
And then you got West Side Connection stuff is like 95, 96.
But what I'm saying is that, Mike, when he's doing The Predator, Pac is doing Me Against the World. That's when Pac is becoming an icon. But then Pac is in jail. That's what I'm saying.
I would love to have heard Cube on Me Against the World.
But first of all, he was on the previous album, but also Pac is in jail around the time when Cube is still active. When Pac got out, Cube wasn't really as active, and then Pac is gone shortly thereafter. So
yeah, I would love to have heard more work with them two together. But yeah, you're right, and especially in film too.
I would have liked to seen it on both levels, absolutely. And Mike, Last Words is, for me, Last Words is like my favorite album cut off Strictly for My Niggas. Like Keep Your Head Up and I Get Around are clearly the gems of that album, but Last Words is a great record.
Lethal Injection. I knew I was leaving off something. Thank you, man, from nowhere.
America's Most.
Lethal Injection was 94.
Okay, so that's the one that's 94. So hold on. So it goes America's Most, Death Certificate, The Predator, Lethal Injection.
Yeah, unless you want to count, the EP. That shit was great though.
I mean, do we really? Okay. I mean, we can count it. I mean, it's cute. I mean, that's fine.
No.
You thought it was great? You thought it was great?
Hold on. What? The EP, you know what I'm talking about? It's shit. What's wrong with me? You know what I'm talking? Kill It Will. I ain't even look it up yet.
Oh, Kill It Will. You know what Kill It Will was though.
Kill It Will's great.
You want to know what, Mike? Does Ice Cube have the best West Coast catalog?
Who would you put over? Kendrick or something? Nah. I think Ice Cube does.
I think the Game has the best argument, but the Game doesn't have as many hip-hop classics, I think, as Cube, so I don't know.
Yeah, because when you're talking Kill It Will, you're talking America's Most, you're talking Death Certificate, then you got, Lethal Injection, The Predator.
Hold on, which one was the drop-off? One of those is a drop-off, though, Mike. One of those is I know there's America's Most and Death Certificate. I feel like...
What do y'all think was the drop-off? Because honestly, War and Peace might be what a lot of people would say But Lethal
Yeah,
Injection,
I feel like Lethal Injection. I can't remember which one, but one of those is just isn't as good as the other three. And I'm trying to remember which one that it is. Like I feel like there was just a slight drop off. Was it the Predator?
I don't know, man. Predator had a good day on it.
Yeah, but what about the rest of the album?
Hold on. Cause you know how we do it was my shit too. That was on Lethal
Oh,
Injection.
you know how we do it is my shit. Yeah,
Yeah, that was my shit.
Yeah, that's for everybody.
Cause yeah, the Predator had Wicked on there. You know what I'm saying? Had Good Day on there.
Jeez, stuff.
Check Yourself was on there.
Come on, I recant that statement.
Yeah.
So what? Hold on. So
I mean, I think all these albums just came so close together, we kind of forget. You know what I mean? But
you're right, Mike. Because Lethal Injection is 93. The Predator is 92. Death Certificate's 91. Mike, he's the first guy to crank out albums year to year to year, Mike.
He is.
Mike, America's Most is 90. Death Certificate's 91. The Predator's 92. Lethal Injection's 93.
But you know what? He's moving like an independent guy. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what you get from priority artists. Because priority back then was more of the partnership. It was like a what was the name of that label that 50 and Dipset and them got in the fight? It was like Koch in the 2000s. Like Priority was like Koch back then.
No, Mike, that's an accurate way of putting priority into. No, Mike, no, I'm right. There's a little drop off on Lethal Injection. There is.
I think the drop off that you might be thinking about might be
War and Peace. No, Mike. When he's coming out with War and Peace, he was already past his prime. Nobody was expecting that again. Lethal Injection was still in his prime, and it wasn't as good as the three previous albums. I do remember.
I think again, though, I think '93. It's such a weird time period where it's like you got the '80s MCs, right, and then you got the early '90s guys, and then when that Illmatic, Pac, Biggie thing comes through '94, it's a new generation, right, and so the people in the early '90s. They're all of a sudden old. Like, remember Tupac was calling De La Soul old. Like, these guys, y'all like a couple years apart. You know what I'm saying?
Like I'm going down Lethal Injection though, and I'm gonna tell you what, it's one of those things. He was already a legend by then, and it has Bop Gun, and you know how we do it on there. Mm-hmm. But this isn't his best stuff. Yeah, this was the drop off of him in his prime. War and Peace was him after his prime. We weren't expecting Cube to be America's Most.
I'm gonna go listen to Lethal Injection again. It's been a minute. I haven't listened to that.
I mean, I know for a fact, Mike, it's not touching America's Most and Death Certificate.
Well, we know that. Yeah.
I just couldn't remember if it was the Predator or Lethal Injection.
And the other thing that kind of hurt albums like that is the fact that Doggy Style dropped that year. There's a different standard, and it's a new sheriff in town type of thing. And like I've said, even with Goody Mob many a times here. It was like, as much as I love Goody Mob, when they dropped World Party, that opened the door for some change in the city. And it's like, when you drop, like you said, one of your weaker efforts, and then there's a Doggy Style that comes out, okay, well, it's a changing of the guard.
Yeah, because Lethal Injection and Doggy Style are the same year. Quick switch.
Yeah. And not to mention that months before it, The Chronic came out. So it's like...
I mean, Mike, here, and people forget this. Here's how big Cube was. Like, The Chronic was everywhere, and like, Cube's albums were still selling comparable. Like, Dre was doing like 4, Cube was doing like 3, and Cube was doing it without help.
Yep. Yeah. And without the big songs that The Chronic had, too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because he was Ice Cube, though, Mike.
Right. Okay. Well, this show was kind of about Dre and the West Coast, and man, we're almost 2 hours in. Did you see? Well, all right. Look, let me just start it like this before we get up out of here. Big Sean did the Drink Champs. I didn't see the full interview because once again, I guess Revolt has it where you kind of got to watch Drink Champs the Thursday night, and they don't make it available until like Saturday on YouTube. So all I could see was clips. Did you see any of the clips of Big Sean's Drink Champs?
I didn't have a chance to, but fill me in. Tell me what you saw.
I saw a couple of clips. One of the clips was basically talking about the fact that Big Sean was made aware about how bad his Good Music contract was by Roc Nation. Which is interesting because they did the same thing with Megan when it comes to was it 1500, the label that put Megan in position to become a Rock Nation, represented artist.
Mm-hmm.
But Big Sean also said that, I guess he said that Rock Nation said that it was the worst contract they'd ever seen or something like that.
I mean, typical agent talk, you know what I'm saying?
The thing is, man, it's like we have to kind of look at things in the overall scope. And Big Sean, I'll give him credit. He did say that, he was looking at a lot of the things when it came to good music as an opportunity. So Nori was asking him about, Kanye's comment on the show about, his worst mistake was signing, Big Sean. And he said at first he thought it was funny, and then he was kind of hurt because he's the only person that put out 5 efforts on good music. And he said he did some writing for Kanye that he's never asked for publishing for and stuff like that. But the thing is, man, like, we have to look at things in a sense where Big Sean was getting opportunities to get on big records that other artists coming out the gate just weren't getting.
So that's what I'm saying. So
it's like everything has a cost, right? So it's like, right. So what does it cost you if you weren't Kanye's artist to get on these songs?
Hold on, Mike. I mean, let's just go ahead and contextualize it for what it is. Mm-hmm. How far were you from getting on if Ye doesn't come and grab you?
Yeah. That's where the opportunity
comes what I'm saying is if Ye doesn't, like, I think was Ye in Detroit that day, like when he was on the radio station or something like that? Is that how it went, or he heard him on the radio somehow? I believe that's how the story goes, correct?
Right, that's how the story goes.
So, but what I'm trying to say is like, let's say Ye's not there that day. Where is Big Sean at as an independent artist in that moment that he's going to come out within a year or two of that moment, maybe passing by, and get the same type of treatment? The same type of notoriety.
I mean, we just got finished talking about Ice Cube and his ability to know his worth and bet on himself. And he had a tremendous amount of leverage coming off of NWA. And he made those decisions based on the leverage that he had and, believing in his abilities.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of times when you launch artists, and we saw it with like the Lox and things like that, when you jump on like something that's moving, like Bad Boy Records, what kind of contract do you expect at this point? You know what I'm saying? Like, because all contracts are not created equal.
Right, Mike. So.
And so with management saying it's the worst contract they ever seen, it's like, well, okay, well, you kind of got to put that in context based on what artist and what that artist has done and what that artist was able to negotiate at that time.
Like the amenities, you know what I'm saying? So let's say that you work a corporate job in a heavy traffic area. Let's say you work in DC and you work in LA or you work in Atlanta and you get a job offer. And one job offer is $10,000 more than the other one, but they don't have any parking situated. So every day that you pull up to work, you're going to have to pay for parking. But the other job that's paying you $10,000 less has a parking deck, and they're taking care of your parking for the rest of for the rest of the year because you're one of their employees. Right. Those are separate jobs. The amenities that come with them are different. The money's over here. The amenities over here. You have to weigh it what it's worth. Parking in Atlanta can be anywhere from $10 to $30 a day, depending on the day. You weigh that out over the course of the month, over the course of the year. Give me the amenities.
And that's not even counting distance, right? If we're talking about gas, right? We're talking
about the gas. And Mike, and here's the thing. That cash getting taxed. Give me the amenities. So he took the amenities.
I think for Big Sean's career.
Mike, and it served him well because he's been a star from almost the moment that he stepped on the scene.
And you know why he's been a star? Because he was able to get on some very important records with some very important people very early.
Yes.
And those are opportunities that a lot of, and we see it all the time, a lot of real bubbling artists who have a lot of talent don't get those opportunities to get on Click, to get on, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're on a record with Jay-Z and Kanye West. And again, I'm not trying to sit here and act like that's your payment or whatever. But if we do look at these things in context, the biggest part of launching a new act is making the public familiar with them. If I can get you on a song with two of the biggest stars in the world, that's gonna really help that part of the mission.
Mike, in the history of rap, and not just those guys like Mike. I mean, that's what I mean. He got full access to a lot of guys. Mike, he got Drake. He got tracks with Drake. He got tracks with Jay. He got tracks with Ye. He got tracks with Pusha. He got tracks with Future.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm saying. He was set up for success. He chose the amenities and it served him well. So when they're saying the contract is shitty, it's like, well, yeah, contract was probably shitty. The amenities was A-list amenities.
Well, let's look at it like this. Let's look at it in basketball terms, right? And we can look at it in two different ways. If you end up on a championship squad and you were a second round pick or something like that, you're not breaking the bank until you prove that, okay, you guys need me.
Right.
You know, so, like let's look at Draymond Green or somebody like that.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was thinking about Draymond.
I mean, it is what it is. Like, you think Draymond's gonna come out the gate when he's coming off the bench? He was able to step in for David Lee, you know what I'm saying, from an injury, and he's getting whatever he was getting, probably somewhat of minimum in the NBA set. He's not gonna go to the GM and owner like, I need more money.
No.
He's going to wait until it's renegotiation time and like, look, this is the work I've done. Boom, boom, boom. This is what it is. Could Draymond Green go out there and say his first contract was a shitty contract? No. It was what it was at the time.
Right. And also, too, Mike, this is what I mean, too. You got to seize the moment that you have opportunities. The biggest thing that happened to Draymond's career that people forget is that the coaches changed.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Kerr came in and asked Andre Iguodala to sit on the bench because he saw something in Draymond in the way that he wanted to run his offense that he thought it might be a better fit for Draymond to start. And for Andre Iguodala, who had already been like a 2 or 3 time All-Star at the time, asked him to come off the bench in favor of this young guy who was only in his second year. And so he also seized the moment and the opportunity and ran with it too, much like Sean did.
Yeah. DeCarlo says, nobody in Detroit knew who Sean was before Ye. All we know here is the Icewear Vizos and T Grizzlies of the world. He would have remained undiscovered, in my opinion. He said Big Sean, he said something else too. He said Big Sean had an opportunity that was unheard of for a new artist.
Mike, so can I speak to a couple things?
He also said, one more good thing he said. Big Sean's kind of like Kyrie. He played with the best, but at the end of the day, he's just not that. Well,
no, he's not that. I'm going to say something. I'm not saying this because I'm a Duke fan. I'm saying this because I've been following Kyrie since he was in high school. Since I was a Duke fan. Oh, no. Kyrie was Hall of Fame caliber talent as a high schooler. And it always has been. So the comparison is not the same. We're talking about the guy with the sickest
But I think this is the mentality when he's talking about playing with LeBron and expecting
50-40-90, like he had a 50-40-90 season last year. There aren't 10 guys in NBA history that have done that.
No, it's real. And I think Kyrie's very talented. But yeah, I feel where both of y'all are coming from. But go ahead. What were you going to say?
But here's what I will say to him that I agree with Mike, because I know a lot of people from the D, nobody really associates with him like from the D, like on a hip hop rap scene level. Like he's not their guy per se. So he's speaking to something when he's saying that. And also to the opportunity, Mike, I know a little bit about the Detroit rap scene, not a lot. But from what I know of the scene, I don't know anybody in the history of that rap scene that got that opportunity. So he's right about that.
It's real. And, and at the end of the day, opportunity costs. Just like, let's just keep it real. If I had a song and let's say the biggest radio DJ in Atlanta, let's just say that radio is still king. And that's how people hear their music. If I go to him and I know what his spin could do for my record, that shit's going to cost me one way or another.
One way or another.
Either out the pocket or when shit goes down and I get the the contract or get discovered, he's getting something, and he should.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, you got to play the game when you want to choose to get in the game, and so,
But see, again, I don't like.
But I feel him on being hurt because what that probably took him back to is he's probably thinking back to that moment when Kanye actually signed him and probably how happy and how relieved and how joyous and what that moment was. And so to hear somebody that offered you that opportunity say that about you years later, yeah, that has to hurt sting too.
Well, the reason why he said it obviously was because he saw, what Kanye West felt like the Democratic Party was using John Stevens, aka John Legend, and Big Sean to work against him and his campaign run. Now, I think what Big Sean
he's right
said
about
in
that.
the clip that I saw, what Big Sean said was he was the first person to tweet Kanye for president. Okay, you could tweet Kanye for president, but when it actually became something real, what were you doing? I didn't like that part of it. Maybe it's more to the interview because again, these are clips.
What's that shit that Ross said on Big Time? I watch your actions, not the shit that you post.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like how corny would that be? I tweet Coop for president, and then you actually on the ballot, and I'm like, nah, we're not doing that anymore. Like, really?
Find another co-host, Mike.
Like, what? That I didn't understand that, but again, I'm gonna look at the whole interview when it comes out. Maybe he has something to refute that, but yeah, him saying that he was the first to tweet Kanye for president. I don't think that has a lot of legs when it was clear that you were out there. Oh, and he also said, yeah, I'm not political or something he was saying, but you were out here telling people to vote. You were at these Democrat rallies. You were.
Mike, that answer that he gave was very political. I was the first one to tweet Kanye for president. You sound like you on the soapbox right now. I ain't even seen the interview.
That's, yeah. I mean, again, I think that when it comes to, and we said this in that show after we were covering the first Drink Champs interview, or part one that Kanye did, I think anything that Kanye has to say about John Legend, Big Sean, or even Common to a certain degree, he has the right to feel however way he wants to feel about it.
I mean, it's freedom of speech at the end of the day anyway, Mike, but also too, yeah, like on a personal level, yeah, probably got a right to say something because let's say that wasn't their agenda. They're intelligent enough to know how it looked.
I mean, just say that
say you don't rock with them. Just say you don't rock with them. Be a man about it. What it's really about. No, for real. Say it with your chest.
No, for real. Like,
just say it with your chest.
I mean, again, like they're talking around it like politicians, like you said, and it's one of those things where, well, just tell us why you were in full support of another campaign and not his.
Yeah, I mean,
can you at least articulate that? And I think that my biggest problem with a lot of these entertainers, and we were just talking about it with the Ice Cube thing. My biggest problem with these entertainers that go out there and tell you to vote a certain way, that's fine. But when people aren't happy with the people that you told them to go support, you're silent. At least speak about displeasures in that regard as well. Or at least be a leader enough, since you want to galvanize people to go support somebody, be a leader enough to listen to people and their gripes and express that too.
So Mike, there's a psychological connotation to this of us as blacks and our affluent blacks in the entertainment and sports sphere that have money that speaks for them and allows them in these rooms. We have a bad problem psychologically with just wanting to put the next white authority figure in place instead of looking at our own. And that's the biggest misstep of it. There's something psychologically broken about the approach to how they did it. It's like, no, it's like you're supposed to empower him. You're a black man of affluence with money. This is a black man of affluence and money that's actually responsible for your affluence and money to a degree.
Yeah.
Psychological on that level, because we have a tendency to just go support the next white man or woman in these days and times that we're living in, instead of really taking a hard, honest look at our own. And it's like, and you know what? And this is what I mean about be a man about it. It's like, well, if you don't trust Ye and you think Ye is crazy, be a man and say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, point blank, period. I mean, but at the end of the day, it's one of those things too. I just don't. It's hard. I hate to say it like this, but I kind of just wish that a lot of our entertainers, if they're not going to go all the way, Just stay
Stay
out of it,
home.
man.
Mike,
Yeah, just stay
no,
out of it, man. Because if
Mike,
you're not gonna go out there and who you're going so hard for, and at these rallies and stuff, like Common was down in Atlanta at the Joe Biden rally, if you're not gonna be a voice of the people on the same level when people have issue with the fact that their student loans aren't being paid and all that stuff, or student loans aren't getting forgiven, I don't want to hear you say anything then. If you're not gonna, do the whole thing, just
yeah,
chill, man. I done got to the point where I respected athletes and entertainers now who just say,
they're
you know what,
standing
I'm gonna
back.
stay out of it.
Right.
Cause
No, I
if you
cannot
ain't gonna
agree.
go all the way,
Well, Mike, so many people are stepping into the field that are misinformed, unprepared, being puppets themselves. And you know what, Mike? It's just like you said. My favorite song on Trap or Die 2, Mike, Go Hard or Go Home.
yeah,
Go hard or go home, Mike.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Go
want, like I said,
home.
man, I don't want to, and we're even seeing it in Atlanta, and I respect everybody who's out here doing their thing in the city. You remember when Keisha Lance Bottoms first got elected? Everybody was, yada yada, it's
I
parties,
mean,
this and that. But when it came to the point where she was under fire, we hear nothing. Now we done moved on to a whole new mayor. Oh, my mayor's name is Dre, and I don't know much about him. I haven't done as much research as I need to on him. But again, let's not sit here and act like none of this other stuff happened. You know what I mean? Like, we have to, the whole process doesn't work if people aren't being held accountable in the moment. Like,
Mike,
they
we like
expect
the
us to just change clothes with it. Like, okay, new person,
right.
that didn't happen. New person,
No,
that
Mike,
didn't happen.
Mike, you're right. We like the party. I actually managed the event for Kasim Reed's inauguration party.
Hmm.
Everybody was there, Mike. I ran into Shirley Franklin at a bar the day after she got elected. No, Mike, we like the party. We support them real, real big when they get on, and then they come under fire, and then we leave because we like the
DeCarlo
party.
says, I personally don't think our entertainment giants should be our leaders in politics ever. We need more MLKs and, Martin and Malcolm X's. Yeah, I mean, I think that at the end of the day, I mean, that's right. But we have to also understand that our entertainers have a large amount of influence. And the fact that they are tools to a certain degree for many political pundits to endorse them, that just lets you know how much this works. I just think it's unfortunate that, the Cardi B's of the world or whoever, they'll they're gonna have to sit with this. So if they tell somebody, you go vote for this person, and then that person goes in there and stinks up the joint, I'm not listening to her anymore on anything.
Yeah,
And it's like you get left with the bag, or our entertainers get left with the bag. But it's like, yeah, at this point, man, you kind of just got to stay out of it. We seen Puffy during this election cycle just go all over the place. You remember that? He was all over the place. He was like,
Mike.
"We'll start our own party. I ain't voting for this person. The vote's for sale. You got to vote for Joe Biden." And I was like, "What's going on, man?"
Mike, all of this is why I'm now independent. I don't even like the consciousness of even belonging.
I think any responsible entertainer, I mean, all jokes aside, white, black, whatever, any responsible entertainer should tell people, just like they tell them about this other thing that's going on, do your own research and make your own decision. That's it.
Yeah, I did
Because
my
if you're not
independent
going to
research.
sit here and,
Mike, I did some independent research, found out I needed to go independent. Yeah, that's what
yeah, that's all. That's what they need to say. Because at the end of the day, if you're not going to sit here and ride with this thing all the way through, because where are the people that was telling you to vote, Biden and Harris now, when people aren't pleased with certain things? They getting the win. But what they're going to do in the next 4 years, they're going to pop back up, tell you to vote for somebody else. Just stay out of it, man. And let people make their own decisions. But I think that's what Big Sean just got caught up in. He doesn't want to admit it. But somebody told him to do that. He didn't go out there on his own and do that.
Nobody wants to admit it, Mike.
Yeah.
Nobody. Yeah.
And the thing is, crazy old Kanye is calling people out, and everybody want to just
people. Okay, so I don't think sometimes people really don't understand how money and power truly does corrupt the soul. I saw a post about a woman saying don't think that a millionaire man won't sit up here and do certain things when you got dudes out here that's making $50,000 a year, and you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you have to understand is that a lot of these guys don't realize they're puppets and pawns till they've been played.
Till it's too late. You're right. No, you're right. I think they come in there with good intentions, and then you get in too deep. DeCarlo says Michael Jordan had the right idea. Yes, he did. And, a lot of people criticize Michael Jordan for what he did. But at the end of the day, let's keep it real. If he didn't go out there and do as big as Michael Jordan's voice was at that time, if he didn't go out there and do his own independent research, or even if he did, he goes out there telling people to vote for a certain politician in a certain state, and then he goes back to his job playing basketball. What if this guy starts stealing money? You can't, I don't work with you every day. I don't know what you're doing to that degree. You know what I'm saying? Like, so now my name is inwoven in this individual. Just stay out of it.
I mean, Michael Jordan's biggest misstep was actually when he said, what did he say? Republicans wear sneakers too? I mean, Mike, that's not a totally unintelligible sentiment for the time of where he was at in his career for him to say that.
I don't see anything wrong with that.
I don't necessarily see anything wrong with it. I never necessarily did. Because, Mike, you want to know what? He's saying something when he's saying that. He's saying, you asking me to get involved in something when really I'm out here playing basketball and selling sneakers. He was telling you in a very sleight of hand kind of way, kind of not informed on that.
Yeah.
I'm informed on
and that's
selling
fine.
These sneakers.
He's doing his job.
Yeah, I'm kind of informed on selling these sneakers. I think those guys buy sneakers too. I think I'm going to go back to playing basketball and selling these sneakers.
Exactly. I mean, because at the end of the day, he plays for the city of Chicago, right? They got fans of all types of, political backgrounds. I'm not going to sit here and isolate myself in that. Come on, man.
And cultural backgrounds, Mike. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, man, like I said, I think his mother was supporting the candidate, who would have been, I think, the first black governor of North Carolina. Yeah, his mother was.
Good luck with that, Mike. I'm from North Carolina.
Good luck with that. So his mother was endorsing the candidate, and he gave money, whatever, do whatever you want, yada yada. That's at that point. Can you fault him for that? If he didn't want to get involved, and like you said, where his focus was playing sports and perfecting his craft, I don't want to sit here and add a whole political, possible whatever of a whole nother state that I don't even live in to my. That's what I'm saying. Why should he even take on that burden? That's the thing. That's the thing I want to say.
So let's unpack that right quick. There seems to be like this some sort of unwritten code that says that if you have power and money in the black community, you're supposed to thrust yourself into the political sphere. Mm-hmm. And Mike, I'm going to tell you one of the things that touched me most. Mike, do you remember that video from a few years ago where Michael Jordan was out in L.A. and these two dudes were about to squab? And Mike was just like, no, don't do that. And they stopped because it's Michael Jordan. Like, Mike, we need more of that more than we need people going up to the White House and Capitol Hill if you really want to get down to it and know the truth. You know what I mean? We need more people. We need more people that like take their power and influence and actually yield it and wield it to touch people in the community because of who they are. Them dudes stop because there's like, Mike told us to stop. Like They felt bad about cranking up in front of Mike because Mike like, what y'all doing in front of me? Right. And they, and it resonated with them to the point, simmer down.
I think you said something too
that's making a difference.
It's like there's such a responsibility on, black entertainers or, people who are public figures in the black community.
But you can step out every day and make that impact without getting on the fucking TV screen.
But it gets to a point, too, you have to understand when you're being used. I think Michael Jordan, at an early age, same as Ice Cube, they realize when they're being used. And when that becomes a thing, they stop. You're not going to sit here and use Michael Jordan.
Jordan brand?
No. At the end of the day, the partnership with Nike was the most that he was going to get used for. And when you look at that at the end of the day, he really didn't. But it was just inevitable. They kind of made each other. He knew that I need to focus on my game. They're a sneaker company, so they could focus on that. That's a partnership right there. And he was like, look, I'm not going to sell any shoes if my game is trash. So I can't sit here and build a sneaker company myself and build a basketball career. They're building the sneakers, I'm building the career, and then Jordan Brand ended up being separate once he retired.
I'm
But
not mistaken. Didn't the Jordans come out like the first Jordans came out when? 86, right?
was it 86? I felt like it was 84.
Was it
Or
84
was it
really?
85? Something. It was early. It was
He
early.
got drafted. But Mike, I remember like them first couple of shoes, like they did well. But Mike, then he averaged 37 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
And then those shoes never stopped selling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's when there's a partnership. If you make shoes and I get on the court and sell those shoes that you're making,
Right.
that's a partnership. And
I
I'm
mean,
able
Mike,
to focus. You're able to focus on making the shoes. I'm able to focus on averaging 37 a game. We win.
I mean, Mike, people forget that season. He had a stretch where he had like had 40 points for like 13 or 14 straight games. Like he was doing ungodly stuff in those shoes. Like he was doing stuff that season people had never seen before, and it cemented it. The next
and the
year,
whole
you see
"gotta be
commercials.
the shoes"
Mike,
campaign.
the next year, it's gotta be the shoes.
That's funny, man. We're gonna get out of here in a second, but I saw a clip on one of those Jordan pages where they were showing his brother, what's his name, Larry, who's like he's like 5'8", which is so wild, but he had a 44-inch vertical.
Mike.
And
Jordan, the only person in his family over 6 feet, I believe, before he had his kids. Everybody, the tallest dude in his family was like our height.
Yeah, and
5'10".
so Larry had like a 44-inch vertical. Somebody was like, they lied to us the whole time. It's not the shoes, it's the jeans. Yeah. You 6'6" with a 48-inch vertical, Michael Jordan?
Say goodnight.
Listen, man, I
Call the curtains for everybody.
yeah, and you're skilled, and you're fundamentally sound, and
No,
you got a
Mike.
motor, and you running
about
what they said he was running a 4.3 in North Carolina.
No,
The
Mike,
fuck?
that's what I'm talking about, Mike. It's not just that he had all the gifts, Mike. It's that he wanted it more than anybody else, too. That's crazy.
It is crazy. And he was trying to, he said, he worked on his jumping and all. I don't know, man. He had natural abilities. Like, this is,
No, Mike, there was a season where, like, he literally went back and you could tell he spent all season working on his jumper and he could shoot.
oh, yeah.
It was like he came back one off season. It's like, okay, he can shoot now. Oh, damn, we in trouble. We in trouble.
Yeah. And when he was able to start scoring with his back to the basket, it was over. Yeah.
I think it's when he learned how to score in crucial moments and not just score all the time,
Yeah. And was able to utilize the rest of his team, too.
When he started learning when to score, you couldn't beat him because he's like, no, I'm gonna wait. Now.
And, I don't want to be one of those people that's like, just because I kind of grew up in the Jordan era that nobody could beat Jordan. But I truly believe Jordan in his prime on the court with these guys today, he would do the same things, if not more. And I know that there are more athletic players at that position now than it was in the 90s. But just, I haven't seen that athletic ability in such a skilled player since. You got somebody like a Kobe who's super skilled, but he didn't have the athleticism that Jordan had. LeBron might be the closest, but
when you're saying that, I think you're talking about wingmen because I think the thing that we really missed is, Mike, I don't know how you feel. I think Hakeem Olajuwon is the best defensive player I ever saw. I would have liked to have seen that finals. I want to see Mike go to the lane against Hakeem in his prime. Hakeem in his prime is the best shot blocker and defensive player I've ever seen. And it was much like Mike. He did it as much with his mind as with his athleticism. Hakeem's timing on drivers of the ball going into the paint and him altering the direction of the shot or putting his hands on the shot outright in his prime is almost unmatched to me because he wasn't like a super tall guy.
No, he wasn't. Hakeem's the best center I ever saw.
That would have been, how about this? One of those Hakeem teams would have given Mike a 7-game series, in my opinion. That would have been the 7-game series.
I think that, and I hate that we didn't get a chance to see them in the finals together. I think Utah stopped that, right? I think Hakeem is the best center I've ever seen. Like, just on a night-in, night-out basis. I've seen the highlights.
Pound for pound, I'm taking Hakeem.
Yeah, I've seen the highlights for Kareem, who I think is, top 3. Same thing for Wilt. But as far as like somebody that I was able to see live and when it was happening, Hakeem's probably the best that I ever seen. But it's just, I don't think him at his position, if Hakeem's giving you his best game, if Jordan's giving you his best game on the other end, I got to think the Jordan team's going to win. I just do.
Akeem's the only guy that I thought was good enough on both ends to offset that, because that's what I'm saying. No, he could go get you 30, but he could also go control the game defensively. Mike never had to deal with that on both ends in the finals.
Do you
Never.
think that Rodman would have really helped against Akeem?
See, okay, that's what I'm saying. Where would Rodman come into the occasion? Because that's what I'm saying. That 94 team, I think they're giving the Bulls a 7-game series. Rodman's not there. You got Horace Grant probably still.
Okay, I think if we're talking about the Horace Grant and Bill Cartwright Bulls,
yeah,
possibly.
Mike, can you say 35 and 15 for Akeem? That's what I'm saying.
But if we're talking about the 72 and 10 team, because I think the Sonics beat them in that year. Yeah, I'm good with Rodman guarding Hakeem.
Mike, he undressed David Robinson in his prime, and David Robinson was taller, stronger, and faster. Rodman don't stand a chance. 35-15.
Rodman's different, man. I mean,
Mike, no, Akeem's different.
No, Akeem's different. I think the fact that Rodman could just focus on defense and Jordan wouldn't have to really even worry about Akeem. Akeem's gonna get his.
Mike, if you were to put Dennis Rodman on Akeem Olajuwon in his prime during the NBA Finals, 35-15, and I think Dennis Rodman's one of the 10 best defenders of all time, 35-15, Mike.
I think that he could get in his head. I feel like that.
Mike, there were guys big. Mike, Shaq, Patrick Ewing, and David Robinson didn't want that smoke. What make you think Rodman want that smoke? They couldn't fuck with him.
I'm with Madman. I think
Mike, he was doing 28, 12, 14 on those guys. You put Dennis Rodman on him 35-15 every game.
Well, who's guarding Jordan on Houston? Drexler?
Vernon Maxwell, if we're talking the original team, probably.
Are you talking about the original team, man? Listen.
Vernon Maxwell's a pretty solid defender. I mean, Mike gonna go get 40. Mike, we already know that. King getting 35, Mike getting 40. How's this defensive matchup gonna go?
I agree with you. I wish we could have seen this matchup when the Bulls played the Suns, because that's the year that Jordan averaged 43 in the finals.
Against Phoenix, 41. Yeah, 41, almost 42 points, I believe.
Yeah.
But here's what I'm saying to that too, Mike, is that no, like Akeem, Mike, like that's different, because here's what I'm saying. Akeem, unlike the other post guys from that era, you could give Akeem the ball in the clutch because he was an 80 to 85% free throw shooter too. So nothing was about the change about the game.
No, I agree with that.
Right.
That's what made him different.
Get that ball with a minute left too, so it's still a problem. It's not like it was with Shaq or Ewing, where it's like, oh, we want to give him the ball, but we'd rather have somebody else shoot it because we don't want them going to the free throw line. David Robinson was like a 73% free throw shooter. Mike Akeem, 80, 82, 84, 85%. That's different when the game is on the line and shit is close, and your best player can hit free throws and happens to be a center who can play defense as well.
Yeah, it was really entertaining to watch Shaq and Akeem in that finals. But, I really hated that Orlando got swept because, at that time I was like in the 7th grade, man. Like, Orlando was cool. Like, you had Penny Hardaway.
Like, that finals was the best thing that ever happened to Shaq's career, because you know what he came back with next year? Footwork and fundamentals, because he got undressed.
Shaq got his, but it wasn't enough.
He got his, but it didn't look like
it didn't look like
he was getting undressed.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, man, let's get up out of here, man. I got some things to do for the event that we're, doing on Sunday. If anybody's in the Atlanta area, definitely come out. We're going to be at E-Complex. We're going to be reporting live, too. Nick the Quick's going to be on the 1s and 2s. We're going to have some hip-hop trivia going. We're going to be, collecting canned goods and blankets for the homeless. It's going to be cool.
Yeah. The kickbacks to get back. Bring your donatable items, please.
Yes, sir. All right, man. Well, good talk about everything, man. And this Dr. Dre music, again, I don't think Kendrick's dropping, but you do.
Yeah.